in vain. Lost in the brain, yes, I'm gonna be in vain. This strange world is done. Dum dum dum, dum dum dum. Bum 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 bum. Click, click. Ooh. La 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 la. Yes, I'm starting right now. I'm sizing the video up for the stream right now. I'm on top of it. What you mean? I had to finish closing out the rest of the game and putting up those gloves for sale. Scroll your loins, he's gonna be dumb.
Hi everyone, I am Brian, and welcome to the 4th ever long-form commentary video.
Hi, Brian.
Before I get with the video itself, strap on in, because there will be a hell of a lot of truth bombs that will be dropped. So brutal that it would make the first long-form commentary video pale in comparison. So many truth bombs, in fact, that it won't be spoiled in the trailer for its premiere, unlike the first one. So with all of that out of the way, let's get to it. Here's the list of chapters. Chapter 1.
As is tradition, we couldn't just possibly just get on with it.
Introduction, which of course we're in right now. Chapter 2, prefacing this video with warnings and other suggestions. Chapter 3, clarifications about the first long-form commentary video. Chapter 4, reminder that I'm explaining why later on. Chapter 5, from conception to birth. Chapter 6, from birth.
Of course. Why fuck them up when they're alive? And, you know, you could potentially form their childhood. No. Destroy that motherfucker as a zygote. Destroy that motherfucker's life as a blastocyte. Don't worry, people. Brian Moles and the Fox is on fucking case.
To 5 years old. Chapter 7, 6 to 10 years old. Chapter 8, 11 to 12 years old. Chapter 9, 13 to 17 years old. Chapter 10, 18 years old and older. Chapter 11, hygiene and diet. Chapter 12, education in general. Chapter 13, sexual education. Chapter 14, relationship advice. Chapter 15.
Oh, there's 2 pages! Oh, we are blessed! We have 20 chapters, chat!
The truth about grooming and why it persists. Chapter 16.
Oh, he's got all the answers. Oh, he's got all the answers. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord.
The truth about the truth about their diet and why it matters. Chapter 17. The truth about sexual education and why it's paramount. Chapter 8.
That is a heinous sentence coming out of your digital mouth. That is a heinous fucking sentence coming out of your digital mouth.
18. Recapping what we have learned. Chapter 19. Rant segment. And finally, Chapter 20. Finale/conclusion. Now, I'm definitely going to preface this video with some warnings and other suggestions to at least reduce the number of snowflakes in my comments, who are easily offended at even the hint of the truth. Here they are as follows. Number 1. Some of the topics in this video that are discussed may or may not be offensive to some viewers.
Your face is offensive. Your ideas are offensive. Your stance is offensive. Your tone is offensive. I can't smell you through the computer screen, but the BO coming off of your digital wavelength is offensive.
So, if you're oh so sensitive to them, or even oh so sensitive to the truth, click off. It'll also save you from butthurt. Number 2, I'm going to be clearing up my name and clarifying the video for some who got initially triggered and are either completely ignorant or too blissfully retarded to understand the basic concepts of what the video promoted. Number 3, I'm going to be going through the stages of childhood and teenage years in the way I'm suggesting how they live. I am not a parent, I don't claim to be one, and may become one in the distant future.
Why? 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 Why would you do that? Why would you do that to the rest of us? Also, why the fuck are you giving opinions about something you're not? Do you know how sad it is that I have the ability to be someone who can say, I can give you better child rearing advice than a fucking online furry? Do you realize how heinous a sentence that is coming out of my mouth? Look at me! Look at me! That's how bad it is. I don't have enough liquids. I need some alcohol. I am coughing, I am seething. I'm fucking roiling, I'm fucking spinning. Going 121 fucking kilowatts a second. And it's not gonna matter enough. I have to pretend this fucking seltzer is alcohol. Otherwise, I will die. I will die of annoyance. So high, ho ho home, ho 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 ho. I get much higher ground, See, Horror's more angry than I am right now.
But who knows? Who cares? I just wouldn't get my hopes too high up, however.
Who knows? Who cares? You know, other than me making this video. Bro, I just unpaused. Now I need food. Because now I need to unpack how fucking heinous that was. Oh my god. 2 minutes, 58 seconds. And he's already made it very clear he does not take this seriously. And I do hope that that storm does not knock out my goddamn power. We're now in the fucking summer showers portion of summer. appears to be that it is not a full-down storm, but instead a summer drizzle. Let's hope it stays that fucking way. Alright! Let's start by rewinding 15 seconds and not pause-ending that sentence.
Some viewers. So, if you're oh so sensitive to them, or even oh so sensitive to the truth, click off. It'll also save you from butthurt. Number 2, I'm going to be clearing up my name and clarifying the video for some who got initially triggered and are either completely ignorant or too blissfully retarded to understand the basic concepts of what the video promoted. Number 3, I'm going to be going through the stages of childhood and teenage years in the way I'm suggesting how they live. I am not a parent, I don't claim to be one, and may become one in the distant future. But who knows? Who cares? I just wouldn't get my hopes too high up, however. And finally, number 4.
So you say all that shit, and then say all that shit, and then say who knows? Who cares? While making a 15-minute video. You know, Brian, it's possible your mother should have swallowed you. It's entirely possible that she should have swallowed you. Because if I think, or anything that you were saying, as you approach the teenage years, in the teenage years, and after the teenage years, is anything close to advice you wish your parents would have taken for you, you just need fucking therapy. Shopping therapy at a funeral home.
I'm going to go over these realistic and parental elements in these kids' life. How they ought to age, how they ought to be treated, taught things, and why. So without further ado, let's get cracking. Alright, let's really start things off with a whole lot to go through. So, 3 months ago, as of me premiering this one video came out. It became my most hated and infamous video ever, and how people reacted to it was definitely proof enough for me that a lot is wrong with society. It became alright in these. Let's really start things off with a whole lot to go through. So, 3 months ago, and why. Or, I'm going to go over these realistic and parental elements in these kids' life. How they ought to age, how they ought to be treated, taught things, and why. So without further ado, let's get cracking. Alright, let's really start things off with a whole lot to go through. So, 3 months ago, as of me premiering this one...
You say something retarded. You publish it to the internet. Yet somehow everyone criticizing you is a hater.
When everybody hates you, you're the problem.
Why did you do this to me? I was blissfully ignorant. I was blissfully ignorant of this man. And now I've will suffer, through 3 of his videos.
Content.
You're permanently damaging my brain cells, and I only have 2 of them.
Good. That means I've done my job.
It became my most hated and infamous video ever, and how people reacted to it was definitely proof enough for me that a lot is wrong with society.
Interesting statement.
He doesn't live in reality. That's why he thinks everything is so wrong. You don't live in the same reality as us. Baby butt eating boy. Fucking weird.
Let's check out that comment section. Watch together. Up, down, up, out, up, out, up, out. No comments on this one as yet.
because this came out recently, and I think anybody, the only people that watch this are people that want to watch the dumpster fire. Yes.
Where was his first video? Okay, so it's booked in both of these places. That's number 4. 6 days ago. Legendary YouTube video pool. Not a parent, don't have to want to be so. I may or may not be a parent myself. Why? Okay, why the fuck do you say that? I may or may not be a parent. But, okay. That's not the comment section I came to see, though. All the way back here. 1.4k views. Pins this. Who hurt you as a child? Well, sir, during Berg the Fourth, it was a Reddit atheist who pwned him in a fucking argument.
Yep.
You really said trauma.
Hurt his fifis.
You said trauma is supposed to make it so that your trauma is easy to deal with, as if people and children control what dramatically happens in their life. Breathe air, use a fist fight, and seek some therapy. But 14 people like this need to be on a watch list. Blah, 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 blah. Where's my comment? Sort by list. There it is. Only one like. I would have expected more. Not necessarily important.
Like I said, I don't think a lot of people actually watch his shit besides those that are well aware of him and want to watch the dumpster fire.
At least I'm not alone in my pain.
Alongside with the culture and the stigma surrounding topics like pedophilia, there is a lot wrong with what they say about it, and a whole lot of misconceptions I have to debunk in this video. But I'm going to make some clarifications throughout this chapter about the first long-form commentary video, however. Number 1, I never said in the video, never say on a regular basis, and never will say that pedos are normal people at all. In fact, all I implied is as long as pedos aren't committing crimes towards actual children at all, and aren't being stigmatized to the point where they're not able to actually become comfortable enough in getting help and become actual functioning members of society if you let them, which is what I mean when it comes to destigmatization, which is not the same as normalization, because I'm not saying they're normal fucking people, you goddamn fucking retard. I'm not saying their behaviors are normal. They're wrong and degenerate, but we don't need to make it worse by banning any and all CP or any porn we deem too offensive for the average consumer, because of course porn in general is not social, it's solitary.
It hurts. It fucking hurts.
See, he's half right when he says that it's not normalizing because it's not normal. But your whole argument is that you should normalize it because not normalizing it makes it a problem. Do you see how retarded that fucking chain of thought is?
You're asking.
It's really bad.
You're asking the ex-Fed who worked as the digital archivist who's responsible for going through the porn if the retarded porn opinion was retarded. Yes, it was retarded. Here's why. Destigmatizing the creation of child porn requires you to normalize child porn.
No, it requires you to normalize harm against children.
Oh no, I was getting there. In the way in which cigarettes have been stigmatized for the sheer fact that they are confirmed to cause cancer and damage to the cells of your body, if we destigmatized what we know to be a fact into making it seem as though it is not going to give you a detrimental lifelong disease if you start at a young age and continue into your 30s, to destigmatize cigarettes would be to normalize lung cancer, gum cancer, mouth cancer, gum rot, tooth decay and rot, tar buildup, disgusting nasty cigarette smoke kisses, the sheer vape culture, and people insisting, no, it's not the same, even though they are worse, because then you are normalizing esophageal burns and destruction of your nasal cavity due to the amount of vapors you're putting into your nose and other places. The same concept applies to CSAM. Any form of child porn necessitating the harm of a child means that by destigmatizing the child porn, even if it's simulated child porn with a fake doll that very clearly, only to people who are not under hypnosis, is obviously a doll, but to people who are under the hypnosis of hip-hopeness. Lord have mercy, it's already happening. The hypnosis of being booty drunk for boy and little girl butt, and not on their Christmas dinner table, requires you, in every instance, where your predatory sense, not that kind, is blaring at the top of your head. Every time you have a fear, regardless of how founded or unfounded it is, you have to turn the other way. Because no, if little Timothy doesn't get diddled by Dale Winton, the soccer coach that really likes to stretch those hamstrings on those boys, standing up, I'm going to make him assault little Liam, even though little Liam already has been traumatized by the stretch out every single gymnasium. The pain of hearing him say it confidently disturbs my soul.
The more we justify these laws that ban CP, whether if it's fictional or not, the more we make them pervasive and push them further into hiding, which is what we should.
Well, true. I would like them to come out into the light so they can be able to get caught by the law. However, ew.
Should not do. Number two, I still said that what pedos do, if they're not committing a crime that is still wrong and degenerate, not right to do by any means necessary. Wrong as in degenerate and something that normal people aren't. That's not to say that we should extinguish them from humanity, because that's like denying basic human nature.
Then why are you trying to normalize it? By making the abuse of children okay. It's making it legal. Because that's what you're saying, is you want to make it okay. We should normalize it. No, dumb fuck. You don't understand anything. Good lord.
Sure. And number three, people do have an overall general distaste towards pedos, me myself included. And quite frankly, I have a general distaste.
Do you? Nigga.
I think you are one. I'm just gonna say it.
He would argue that he's a non-offending.
Yeah, he's definitely a map. 100%. Because I don't think anybody would go that hard for something to be legalized if they weren't trying to make it okay for them to look at it.
Why couldn't he have just been gay? Make you like man-ass. Right. Then we wouldn't have to be here.
Towards the stigma towards them and the topic of pedophilia as well, because it only serves to trivialize and stigmatize anything as to helping them become fucking functioning members of society and not these monsters that we rant so autistically about. Yep.
Your video trivializes the very concept of what it means to know that somebody tries to do this shit on a regular basis and what it actually means to go through the social service steps of getting help for these individuals. After having done my due diligence in my public service for this city at a young age of fucking 17 to 23, and having to suffer through listening and seeing people make the progress and the steps, and then at least 2 people relapse and one of them end up on a morgue table, you do not know what that means. You don't know what it means to be of service to people who clearly cannot help themselves and need you to put them in a straitjacket because they are begging you to help them purge what is in them. I quote from the exceptional Negro himself, "The spindly roots in me." The shit is a travesty. It is not fun to do. It's not fun to be involved in. It's not fun to know the details about. And it's not fun to have to argue to a judge. No, please do not give them this extraneous program. Give us the ability to send them to this rehabilitation clinic under lock and key rather than sending them to Gen Pop. This one is one of the good ones. I've only had to say that statement 3 times in the course of my service for the consolidated government, and I was never wrong. Unfortunately, one of those people ended up on a morgue table because somebody else in their house was diddling that little girl, and it was the dad. Put a father in jail and bury a son because somebody thinks, or rather, excuse me, somebody who was so sure they understood how the internet worked didn't know how the internet worked. And now that girl strips. I don't
think he realizes that what he's trying to do is going to cause way more harm than any good. It is going to literally cause thousands upon thousands of kids to be so fucking traumatized that they become drug addicts, they become alcoholics, they become sex workers, and not the ones that are regulated. No. They're gonna be walking the streets. All of this shit. That's what it leads to. But he doesn't care.
I think of the statistics.
What reality is he living in? I don't understand.
I think of the statistics when I was last working in that position, and the sheer number of how many times we saw the exact outcomes that you're describing was physically annoying to me, to the point that it felt like my teeth itched when I read them. Because in the position that I was afforded, it was not a desk job. I had to go out there and do the acts. So I saw the people who became those statistics. The shit you're describing isn't just fucking up a generation, generally speaking, like taking black fathers out of the home, and I being a part of the statistics of the sassy black niggas that have gone on to do either extremely humorous or humiliating or embarrassing things to other people and themselves. No, you're describing the kind of thing that will fuck up a place like California in perpetuity. Because the first place it's going to be tried in is the places where it's most common to see this kind of sexual deviancy. Which really means New York City and California first. It's going to work in from the West Coast and the East Coast, and it's going to meet in the middle of the Midwest, where all the freaks and cults live, and then will spread back out like a shockwave blast, clashing on it, like a hadron collider, trying to do particle acceleration in any kind of science experiment. But instead, the clashing is pedophiles exchanging notes on how to avoid getting arrested. And you know who they're going to be handshaking and saying business with? They're gonna cite you, Brian. Man, that fucking furry really made sure that we could be able to get out, brother. Absolutely. That's how I can be able to have my 20-boy cabal. Because technically, I'm not assaulting them. I'm just making them masturbate on film into a cup. Nothing's penetrating them. And then I walk into the room and I drink it. It's amazing! I physically hurt myself creating that fake scenario in my head, Brian!
Get rid of the stigma so we can help get rid of actual pedos by turning these pedos into not pedos anymore and functioning members of society, and actually learn either not to have kids or teach their kids not to be killed, raped, or even murdered, or even groomed.
How does that stop pedophiles from being pedophiles when they're literally consuming and more than likely going to start creating CP? Explain this to me, because it doesn't make sense.
He lives in a version of the argument that if given the ability to sate their fill, they will just naturally wean themselves off of little boys and little girls.
You know what my response to that is?
Does that work for alcoholics?
Does that work for drug addicts? Because when they get their fill, they need something stronger. It doesn't work anymore. So they escalate. and they escalate and they escalate until to the extent that they OD. In this case, my only thing my escalation of this, in my thought process, the escalation of this will end up with kids being killed on camera for snuff content.
But
that's where it's gonna go.
But, well, technically, there's another place it goes to. It goes to cannibalism. It goes from...
Still snuff.
Oh, yeah, of course, but it's not just going to be just recording it. It's going to be doing it simply because they cannot get over the edge of what they're consuming. Consuming the essence of the innocence is not enough for truly...
People are going to pull an Albert Fish.
Yes. Consuming the essence of the innocence is not enough for the truly debaucherous. It starts with doing something that feels dirty in a form of pseudo-exhibitionism. Then it goes to peeping Tomism. Then it becomes stalking, as they start finding the beginnings of the prey so they can start really leveling up. Then it becomes the non-offensive assault. Example, the drinking in the cup. It's not going to be enough just to consume it. No, you got to drink it straight from the udder. Then you're gonna try to hold the victim there because, hey, that's your entertainment. You can't let that entertainment go. But then at the same time, your entertainment, they're children, and the thing about kids is they age and they grow up, and you like your personal vendetta. You like your quarry. That quarry is yours. You don't want them to belong to anyone. You don't even want them to belong to themselves. They belong to you. But they're getting older. The things that you find attractive about them as a pedophile is going to start whittling away. And, well, you can't let that happen. They gotta be a little boy, a little girl forever. Yeah, they have to stay in the proportions in which you like them. Because if they grow out of those proportions, you won't like them anymore. And you like how they are then, not how they'll be later. So, you're going to do the worst thing you possibly could do, and that's try to stunt their growth in any way possible. Emotional, physical, mental, spiritually, until effectively you have broken their spirit and they are no longer a person, but they are an empty vessel begging for death, if not looking for opportunities in which to remove themselves from their constant torment for your decadence. And then after that happens, well, now you just got a dead body on your hands. That or somebody who quite literally is not capable of functioning without the basic necessities being piped into their body through an IV. And at that point, once you've gotten that debaucherous, assuming you've gotten to the point of a snuff film, the only thing left is cannibalism.
Yeah.
I only worked 3 total cannibalism cases. I did not want to look at the data. I made the judge read that shit. Because I did not want that on my conscience. It's not a fun cycle, Ryan. This is not fun thoughts to think. This shit's not something you say flippantly. Because the haters...
They head into their teenage years. You know, pedos are somewhat human, but nasty, disgusting, even predatory, even degenerate agree with that. All my video promoted is a multi-pronged approach of legalizing all porn, including fictional CP, by phasing out illicit CSAM material and even CR material, so that child traffickers are run out of business that way. So they go after one another like the mafias did, and we can hopefully do the same when it comes to drug dealers.
Why would they go after each other when they are collectively in the business of making money? Put 2 industrious men in the same business in the room and show them a marketplace that can be conquered and dominated through teamwork. And every single obstacle that stands between those 2 criminals or businessmen will fade like the tides crashing against the shore, only to recede back into the ocean. They don't have to fight each other. None of them have to fight each other. Because, Brian, supply and demand. You're trying to make the thing legal. In the sense that by making it legal, it becomes verboten. Because the things that they tried to peddle in is the extreme. But you want to make the extreme mundane. You want to make the worst material I could imagine a scenario for freely accessible, like a porn video of Angela Light getting her back blown out by Johnny Sins. The problem creates itself, Brian, because you will have created the exact marketplace in which the most exotic of aggressive material will be the most sought after. Because it's one thing, let's use the concept of step fantasy. It's one thing to have a bunch of porn stars that are willing to make step fantasy concepts. And you do everything possible to try and make that shit feel as real as possible. But you know what is better than something that is simulating what's real? The real fucking thing. The real fucking thing. And no matter how you think, oh man, I went back to Old Reliable and I really busted that real good fat nut to Ethan. I wonder what Ethan's doing right now. That's what's gonna happen. Oh man, that classic with Helga and Olga, the two twin sisters, great. Oh, where we are at right now. That's what's gonna happen. And because that's how it works, the more unique, new, prime beef that they serve to the marketplace, that they can guarantee and certify is 100% exclusive and 100% exotic and 100% legitimate, continues the cycle to the point where you will now have to make the next mundane out of the exotic. You literally will be doing them the biggest favor in business and make the business never fail. They could never lose. Because there's millions of kids. All they need to do is pay a person for a lookout and pay a person to be a hitman or a body snatcher. Find a target, stalk them, snatch them. Every time. That's why they've made rules about seeing the parent or the guardian pick the child up and take them home. Because until that child leaves the premises, it is their job and duty to make sure they do not leave with someone who is not their family member. No Uncle Tonys, no Aunt Ethels, no Cousin Skeeters. Your mom, your dad, your brothers, your sisters. Your immediate aunts that have been to PTA meetings that you know what they look like. Preferably within your parish and or community. Oh my lord, have mercy on my soul. This man is going to make me hurt myself. Intellectually. In Minecraft. In Once Human.
And cartels. We can get rid of them if we legalize all drugs too, and actually teach people about the harms of drug addiction.
We could get rid of the drug cartels if we got rid of the drugs and teach people how bad drugs are, okay? Okay.
See, I will agree with drugs being legalized only because they can be government regulated. Which means less people that are killing themselves on stuff that's laced with other stuff.
Never again.
It's still gonna happen, but it's gonna lessen.
Never again will we suffer the case of another George Floyd. Chinese fentanyl aside. Okay, legalize the drugs. Same scenario can happen, but slightly easier, because now you got the DEA involved. You got the CDC involved. They're analyzing the drug strains. They're figuring out how it's being pressed, how it's being cut, what's inside of it, the composition of the enzymes. What does it do to your body? All of these things will still lead to designer drugs. And that's, ironically, the shitty part, because this concept is so well understood, even TV writers understand exactly how this would work. There's a TV show. It's called Power, Book 4. Force. And in that show, one of the Scottish children of a drug lord who who has always established pushing safe drugs in the form of prescription pills, has a daughter that wants to sell a designer-influenced drug that she helped enzyme and create, using a scientist to push it. Put in the designer drugs in the clubs, get people hooked on it with a first-time try, have them not know where it comes from, have them coming back for more, paying at the nose for the FOMO and the exclusivity. The same concept exists with any drug that can be cut by any chemist that can work out a recipe that can maintain the supply and the rigidity of the formula so that it does not decompose and deliver the drugs in an inaccurate way, time released to your system. Because this is why Chinese fentanyl is killing people. Forget the problems of Ozempic and the problems with taking any kind of prescription drugs alongside general drug or vial abuse.
Illicit materials, yeah.
The sheer aptitude of the criminal underground and how intelligent they are when it comes to chemistry cooking means that even if you wanted to legalize all known drugs, these motherfuckers will design something that you've never ever heard of before. It might have a similar structure to something that's already inside of the schedule system, but that doesn't mean shit if what they want is a more clear, more clean, or more dangerous high. Because people will buy it just to try it. They don't care if it's called the heart attack shake. They're gonna want to say, hey, yo, I ain't never had this shit. Well, let me see what this shit's about. If I could create drugs simulated after the name of the drugs from the Fallout universe, if we could create Jet and other drugs like that being made from little mutated cow shit, yes, they will find shit that you've never seen or ever heard of before, and you will hear and see people getting addicted to it. I'm surprised we don't hear more stories about people getting addicted to drugs formulated from the fumes of cow shit. But that's how crazy it gets. China's a crazy situation in place because of all their prescription ancient melodies and treatments. Things that quite literally might have been just literally allowing a fungus to eat your brain becomes a delicacy, and all of a sudden you've got kids in a town somewhere in the Midwest getting on an even worse case of the opioid crisis. That's why opioids destroying the suburbs were funny to the black community, because the black community obviously suffered the fucking crack epidemic, destroying their communities. And you're suggesting that what you do is take the drugs off the street to try and regulate them. Sure, that's a great idea. So now, you need to also take care of the drug cartels, because they're not just going to walk away from the drug trade. They're going to switch up. They're going to do something else. If they can't cook the pills, they're going to enfranchise how to route the business. If they can't enfranchise on the trafficking of the business, they're going to start trafficking the pills in a different way. Like human trafficking for the drug pills. Not sure if you've ever seen them, the kind of shakedowns and pat-downs where women have whole bags of illicit drugs stuffed in various holes of their body. Yep. Uncomfortably so. Because then the problem isn't just the pills, it's the fact that the pills have a fancy container, and the container is being sent to the people who are going to use the drugs as a parting gift. And then you end up right back in the other problem of the situation. Because it's never just the drugs. It's drugs plus something else. Because why would they just use one? Why would they just do one part of business? Why would I waste all of the pig when I can sell you the ham, the butt, the pug shit, the tusks, the brain, the liver, the spine, the spleen? Everything is a profitable business to people who deal in the illicit.
I don't give a fuck how much it hurts your feelings. Addiction is not a fucking disease. It is a symptom.
Yes, it is. You shut your whore mouth. Yes, it is.
Oh, that's so funny. I gotta hear it again.
mafias did, and we can hopefully do the same when it comes to drug dealers and cartels. We can get rid of them if we legalize all drugs too, and actually teach people about the harms of drug addiction. And I don't give a fuck how much it hurts your...
We gotta teach people about the harms of drug addiction. But remember, chat.
feelings. Addiction is not a fucking disease.
Addiction. It's not a disease. It's just something that chemically alters your brain to the point that you can't live. You literally cannot live. Your body will not let you breathe through the pain of your withdrawal without the drug.
Sounds like a disease to me.
There's a symptom of an underlying problem, and anyone who justifies stupid...
What's the underlying problem of a prion disease? The fact that you ate brains and got coolers, and now you got the shakes, and you're gibbering. What's the argument here? Huh?
retarded stigma against them are part of the problem, and I get fucking pissed.
Well, you see, the retarded stigma of doing so many drugs that your body cannot function without them is kind of a serious thing. That's why we stigmatize it. Meth. Meth. In fact, where is that? Where's that commercial? Here's a blast from the fucking past. Grew up watching this shit in perpetuity. It was so great. Here we go. Normal. Sound.
Look at me, busy as a bee. Where'd I get all this energy? Oh man, man. I don't sleep and I don't eat, but I've got the cleanest house on the street. Oh man, man. Get these hairs all out of my face. Get these bugs all out of my place. One more hit, no time to waste. Oh man, man.
One of the most effective ads. One of the most effective. But you see, according to Brian Moles of VsChat, the Office of National Drug Control Policy doesn't understand that all they're doing is stigmatizing, stopping people from having booze and oodles of energy. You gotta pop the perks, chat. You don't understand, you gotta pop the perks. You're missing out.
Pop the perks on the lid.
You gotta pop the perks. You're missing out on the experience of your teeth falling out of your head because you keep itching your teeth with your skin and you keep clawing at your gums because you could have swore you felt something slither between your gap. Gotta get out!
I get those spiders. Spiders everywhere.
Because
Enough about LSD.
Because you got bugs under your skin, and then all of a sudden, your skin doesn't feel right, and you realize, wait, you didn't have skin before. You don't like your skin.
Tear it up.
Take off your skin.
Do it now.
Just take off your skin, chat. Just take it off. It's okay.
Off every goddamn time. People use a stupid fucking argument that we should not help pedos into becoming functioning members of society. It's entirely possible. You just haven't tried it yet. By trying to justify that we should...
We haven't tried it yet. Say it again, Brian. Say it again. Tell us. Let us know.
Retarded stigma against them are part of the problem, and I get fucking pissed off every goddamn time. People use a stupid fucking argument that we should not help pedos into becoming functioning members of society. It's entirely possible. You just haven't tried it yet. By trying to justify that we should ban all drugs permanently, you are the problem. And if we can eliminate you, we can eliminate all the monsters in the world. At least damn near all. If we can't get all of them to just be gone, Getting rid of all POs and predators is just not realistic. It doesn't work. It's inconsistent. And I'm pretty sure it's not even universal, because of course there are ethical concerns when it comes to stupid predator hunters and shit. Number two, we should teach...
Pause. That means that you need to get removed. That means that you can't be around. Because I'm smelling the predator on you. It stinks.
You don't have to roll enough lies, Brian. To reap. That's the smell of a pedophile journal.
What's another way to associate this? So imagine we had a rat infestation. Clearly, the option is to get rid of the rats. But if you actually get rid of the rats, you're actually causing the rats to stay in the house. You have to let the rats infest the home, and then they'll have infested everything to the point that the rats will get bored, and they'll find another home to infest. Try a true tactic. Why have exterminators? Just let the shit get infested. They'll move on eventually and migrate. You know, after however long. But that's just dedication to the craft. That, you guys don't get it. You don't let the process work. If we let him live, eventually he'll not be our problem anymore because he will die of old age. That's a good actual logic here. Yeah, Ryan Mullins reached a good old age. And while he's reaching that old age, nobody fuck him. Nobody fuck him. And the problem will remove itself. This is great logic, Brian.
It'll be like B. Arthur, a 72-year-old virgin.
Or kids, sex before they hit puberty.
I don't believe that. B. Arthur gave head.
But that when they hit puberty, they're taught relationship advice. And number 3, for the final resort, we can actually defend our children as parents, and I'm not speaking as a parent because I'm not one, that parents...
So stop saying we and parents in the same sentence. We as a society. That's what you'd have to say there. Because you ain't no fucking parent. You ain't no goddamn daddy. I don't even have to say it on the offense of my family. I don't want you near kids because you don't have fatherly capacity. The manly urge to protect the innocent doesn't exist in you. You're playing games like listen, I didn't put the actual flame in the fume of the propane tank. Stop fucking worrying, bro. There's nothing...
overall ability to control the situation so that if the most unrepentantly non-compliant predator that was about to rape a kid gets shot and hopefully rule to self-defense and not murder so that parents can take control again. Because believe it or not, parents are just as powerful, if not a little more, than predators could ever be. No more, no less. And so with that, the people...
You know who's also powerful? A YouTuber with an audience listening to your dumb retarded tykes.
People not understanding the fucking multi-pronged approach of the video, it just leaves me fucking bewildered at how fucking stupid people have become. So stupid that Generation Alpha has become stupid. But we'll get to talking about that later in this video. Now,
yes, because the new generation of children are stupid because other people tell you need help. True. You are a victim. The world does not understand your genius.
Chapter 4. Now I'm going to have to remind you that I'm going to explain hygiene, diet, education, as in school in general, sexual education, and the truth about women later on.
Pause. You want to explain their hygiene when you're a fat, rancid fuck. Huh?
And a... Fuck you!
You peeked there. We didn't even hear you.
Yeah, we didn't hear anything you said.
Shit. I said fucking furry.
Fat, slovenly, man-child furry believes he knows how to teach the children by telling the children, let them touch you. They will literally go away. Bold strategy. Bold strategy.
To explain how their hygiene and diet should influence how healthy they'll become when they grow up, such as a consistent enough diet and...
Well, Brian, will they grow up? You told them walk into the bear's den. Choose the bear. Give the bear a hug. Kiss the bear. I don't think they're gonna live if they kiss the bear, sir.
Good enough hygiene, yearly dental checkups, washing your face every morning, every night, making sure you have the best of manners, and all that other jazz. I'm not going to get too specific too soon, so with that out of the way, let's start with the heavy stuff. Let's start with Chapter 5, From Conception to Birth. And Chapter 5 will be kind of long, but bear with me. Let's get started by learning how conception works, and I'll lead you all through a journey on learning about how children come to be.
I don't need any help from a sexless virgin like you about how sex works.
Yep.
I am a being forged from men and women who escaped bondage by seducing the housewives. I was made... I'm not gonna finish that sentence. But I don't need no help. We don't need no help. Ain't nobody need... We don't need no help.
And nobody want your help.
Fuck, Lord have mercy, try to help somebody get sex. They will end up on the registry in an hour.
Yeah,
CSF
no,
Center
no,
for
I don't
Reproductive
need
Health.
it.
Here's this article called Conception, How It Works. To become pregnant, these steps must occur. 1. Sperm transport. The sperm must be deposited and transported to the site of fertilization. 2. Egg transport. Ovulation must occur and the egg must be picked up by the tube. 3. Fertilization and embryo development. Union between the sperm and egg must result. And finally, number 4. The embryo must implant and begin to grow in the uterus. Pause and read, because I'm not going to read all the way through this shit. Here's sperm transports, egg transports, fertilization and embryo development, implantation, and that's about it. So in short, as the baby develops...
I don't need you to tell me how mitosis works. You're fucking
Congratulations. Sorry, continue.
You're fucking these kids up before they are even kids. They are blastocytes. And you're over here telling them, listen, this is how you need to get fucked. You need to bend your legs up like this and hold them over your head like this.
The woman has behavioral issues, mood swings, vomits for no goddamn reason, sometimes due to barometric pressure, a period getting in the way of pregnancy, being bipolar as fuck, and had to absolutely change her diet to keep the baby in her alive, be it a boy or a girl, which we won't find out until sometime during the pregnancy process, with something known as a pregnancy test. It shows you multiple signals whether or not if you're pregnant, and whether or not if the baby inside you is a boy or a girl. So, to sum up briefly, after 9 months of the steady and tumultuous process, the baby is born, be it a boy or a girl. Now let's move on to chapter 6. Life begins
pause.
when they're born as either a boy...
So he's saying that the hormonal changes within a woman is just being bipolar.
Well,
The hormonal changes in order to properly carry and create a child within her womb is her being bipolar.
well, let's look at this.
Brian,
Let's look at this from the position of a sexless, gistless virgin. All the women around him, out of his age, are on birth control. Birth control is artificial pregnancy, to prevent you from being pregnant. In his mind, all of those people effectively have the same idea of mood swings and behavior as an 80s sitcom writer making movies featuring children that are actually CGI monstrosities being voiced by adult actors. In his mind, it makes sense. He's never been in bed with a woman, so it might as well be she's pregnant when she's upset and has mood swings and craves chocolate. Of course, this is.
I mean,
this is fucking,
I'm not pregnant, and I still have that shit. I always crave chocolate.
It's a childish way to look at a lot of things. He's quoting textbooks, and it's still so childish. The baby is made when daddy pees in mommy type shit.
boy or a girl. For the first 2 to 3 years, here are the only things you would need to do when it comes to taking care of and raising said child. Number 1, change their...
So you're already wrong, because you said the only things. Motherfucker, we have no training for my child. And I literally have to invent ways to entertain this child, because he, like any person, is a unique living being. And he responds to different stimuli. So that's already wrong at the fucking gate. You wouldn't know that. You're not a father.
diapers anytime you smell a stink that's impossible to ignore. But don't change their diapers too often, because it would just be a waste of diapers. Say between 1.5 to 3 hours when they're a newborn, and by the time they're a toddler or 2 or 3 years old, once...
That's horrible advice. Let me tell you what actually fucking works. There's this concept called a blowout, because babies have perfectly healthy gastrointestines. They ain't got gum wadding up their shit. They don't have the potential scarring that comes from a near miss of worms or parasites that may or may not have been the fault of you or somebody cooking for you. They fully digest and get all the nutrients out of the food they eat, which means what's about to come squeezing out their cheeks is the most foul, rancid black tar from the pit and abyss itself, because that's what happens when you feed children the processed foods that exists in the food they have today. Now, of course, that's not all the fucking food brands, but in general, it's what happens. Because a lot of people want to go around the route of getting things that are store-bought, and store-bought foods are processed, so that you can be able to get them easily. Cooking, obviously, will reduce this, but you're still going to smell something that you wish was just sulfur. Changing this blowout, because it's going to be wet and solid at the same time, is why diapers wrap around the leg, to keep it in. So, you gotta take a diaper, have it on standby, wipe up, not down, wipe up, with a flicking motion, away from the sex organs, and then change the diaper by lifting with one hand, sliding under with the other, putting down, and then tickling them to keep them in place, because they're going to want to flip over on their stomachs and just smear all that on whatever surface they're crawling on, because they don't understand what's coming out of them. They just know wet, smell, I need help, which effectively is I need mommy, because that's how kids work. They want daddy to play with them, they want mommy to take care of them. They'll let daddy hold them if they want to be asleep, but they want mommy to take care of them, they want daddy to play with them. And even when mommy and daddy are changing said child, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, until they understand object permanence, nothing is sticking. Nothing. The concepts are forming, but words aren't there yet. So the only way to communicate with them is to teach them sign language. And even if you succeed at sign language, it's gonna have to take you starting early. And this is just for diaper changing, because they need to know: are they wet? Did they poop? Are they having a blowout? And that's not even covering if they pee in your face. Granted, this is more a caution for boys. It's a mystery. It's a fucking mystery. It's a goddamn eldritch abomination in a handbasket. And it's your kid. And you gotta learn on the fly. You gotta deal with every single fucking heart attack that comes with doing it. I wouldn't say it's not fun. It's definitely an experience that's going to change you. But it's not necessarily fun, because you're still adults dealing with something that effectively is chaos embodied. You're going to get upset at each other. You're going to get upset at yourselves. You're going to get frustrated with yourselves. I know I did. But yeah, you know everything. Yeah, absolutely, Brian. You have the best advice.
At best, every 10 hours. Every kid is unique, though. This isn't a set in stone, be an end-all estimate for when you should...
And also, it shouldn't be every 10 hours. If they are wet, but they have not pooped, it is possible to let them wear it for another 2 hours. If what you want to do is maximize it. Obviously, this is not how you should think. But let's say you wanted to maximize. You wanted to maximize the use of your diapers. If they have a blowout, you need to change them. If they poop, you need to change them. If they poop and it's wet and solid and then it becomes runny and it's green, you need to change them and potentially see if they have a sickness or a cold. If it's just water, if it's just pee, it is possible. If the diaper has a water indicator, it's usually a wet absorbent blue line that goes up the center of the diaper that you can see in the front, so you know that they've peed and that it's time to change them. You can allow it to go for an extra 2 hours because the water is still entering through the membrane and is still expanding. I remember this because I remember when the ads went from focusing on the diaper and basically the science experiment of how the absorption works to focusing on the concept of the baby itself. The diaper is designed to do this, except the cloth diapers. Don't buy those. That's dog shit and literally horrible for you. You do not want to reuse diapers. Trust me. You don't. But anyways.
The change of toddler's diaper. Every kid is unique. Some have sudden steamers, and others have campy locks. By doing this, you should save somewhere between $200 and $500 on diapers alone each year. Number 2, when they're babies that don't even have their baby teeth yet, and if the mother can naturally lactate, let her pucker them up until they reach the age of 2 years old. When they develop teeth, keep them on baby food supply until they're all developed and the child can eat foods that require the use of their baby teeth. 3, when they hit their toddler years, feed them an equal balance of protein, fiber, fats, carbs, and veggies. If the mother figure suggests otherwise out of just spiteful contrarianism, or because she thinks it might do harm to them somehow for some fucking reason.
I'm noticing well, for you it's not abnormal, it's just normal. But I'm noticing an abnormal level of fucking hatred towards women. What's with the professional misogyny, bro? What's all this the mother shit?
something, do the opposite without telling her and see how she responds. That'll teach her not to be such a bad parent and a bitch. You may get in a minor argument or two, but nothing major. Number 4, between the age of 3 to 5 years old is the right time to potty train your child. So after you have successfully potty trained them, you would be able to stop buying diapers forever, unless if you're planning to have more kids than just one. Number 5, children.
Not really. They might still need some pull-ups because they might be a bedwetter. More on that when we get there.
When they're capable enough of understanding discipline, English, mathematics, and in a semblance of self-control, hopefully taught by the parents and not by teachers because parents are too fucking lazy, can and should be taught sexual education in an educational manner, of course, because getting...
5-year-olds, guys. 5-year-olds should be taught sexual education. What a wonderful idea. What a wonderful idea. Oh, man. Why don't you say that again, Ryan? Why don't you say that again so everybody can hear you? Yes, sir. Absolutely. Yes, please. Yes. Yes. Say that again, Brian. Say it again so everybody can hear you and how intelligent you are.
So after you have successfully potty trained them, you would be able to stop buying diapers forever, unless if you're...
Oh, no, let's go all the way back, sir. Let's go all the way back to the age.
It's the right time to potty train your child. So after you have successfully potty trained them, you would be able to stop buying diapers forever, unless if you're planning to...
Not far back enough.
Do harm to them somehow for some fucking reason, do the opposite without telling her and see how she responds. That'll teach her not to be such a bad parent and a bitch. You may get in a minor argument or two, but nothing major. Number 4, between the age of 3 to 5 years old is the right time to potty train your child. So after you have successfully potty trained them, you would be able to stop buying diapers forever, unless if you're planning to have more kids than just one. Number 5, children, when they're capable enough of understanding discipline, English, mathematics, and in a semblance of self-control, hopefully taught by the parents and not by teachers because parents are too fucking lazy, can and should be taught sexual education in an educational manner, of course, because getting scarred for life is a part of growing up, but growing up isn't always a part of getting scarred.
5 years old. He didn't say an age. He didn't say later on when they have fully developed the problem. They said as soon as they have all these skills, teach them about dick and vagina. Listen, guys, if you don't let him use his advice, the clear, simple strategy to prevent child predators is just teach the child about sex as early as possible, and then let the rape happen. What could go wrong?
Everything.
Without the actual harm caused by doing the opposite. I will explain later in chapter 17 on why this is paramount. Number 6, for the sake of their hygiene. Teach them to wash their hands, take a bath, and if they're tall enough, learn how to take a shower. When they're older, which I'll go over in a later chapter, but just teach them how to clean themselves once they take a bath. Teach them how to brush their teeth at least twice a day, while making sure that as a parent, you need to sign them up for yearly checkups and cleanings. And when you teach them to brush their teeth, teach them the right way. Don't be teaching them the wrong way and mislead them for life. Number 7, for the sake of education, it is absolutely somewhat best to homeschool all your kids, albeit it's not perfect. But it's way better than the public education system. Avoid kindergarten schools abroad. Approach the strategy of the homeschool equivalent to kindergarten, but without those other pesky kids, and without Generation Alpha and the somewhat creepy kindergarten teachers. Number 8, if any kid ever asks or wonders about what it's like to be in a relationship, tell them to wait until they hit puberty or in their teenage years. So it's not too inappropriate to teach them before they hit 16 when they're in their teenage years, but not right now. Number 9, if any kind of yours wants to know what the place they came from looks like, if you will, just show them for a short period of time and do this after warning them that it might scar them mentally. Note, this is not child abuse, but suppressing their innocence by
You just... I did not hear that. That's not what happened. That's not what you said. Surely not. No. That's not what you said. You did not just say that. No. Let's go back. No. I didn't hear that right. No.
Without the actual harm that's caused by doing the opposite. I will explain later in chapter 17 on why this is paramount. Number 6, for the sake of their hygiene. Teach them to wash their hands, take a bath, and if they're tall enough, learn how to take a shower. When they're older, which I'll go over in a later chapter, but just teach them how to clean themselves once they take a bath. Teach them how to brush their teeth at least twice a day, while making sure that as a parent, you need to sign them up for yearly checkups and cleanings. And when you teach them to brush their teeth, teach them the right way. Don't be teaching them the wrong way and mislead them for life. Number 7, for the sake of education, it is absolutely somewhat best to homeschool all your kids, albeit it's not perfect. But it's way better than the public education system. Avoid kindergarten schools abroad. Approach the strategy of the homeschool equivalent to kindergarten, but without those other pesky kids, and without Generation Alpha and the somewhat creepy kindergarten teachers. Number 8, if any kid ever asks or wonders about what it's like to be in a relationship, tell them to wait until they hit puberty or in their teenage years. So it's not too inappropriate to teach them before they hit 16 when they're in their teenage years, but not right now. Number 9, if any kind of yours wants to know what the place they came from looks like, if you will, just show them for a short period of time and do this after warning them that it might scar them.
No.
We're gonna put a pin in that one. Hora's gonna love that one. Yes.
What?
Oh, good, you're here. Oh, yes. You need to hear the dumb shit that just came out of his mouth. Hold on, I'm going back. Hold on. Wait a minute, Mr. Postman. Check this shit out.
Equivalent to kindergarten, but without those other pesky kids, and without Generation Alpha and the somewhat creepy kindergarten teachers. Number 8. If any kid ever asks or wonders about what it's like to be in a relationship, tell them to wait until they hit puberty or in their teenage years. That's so it's not too inappropriate to teach them before they hit 16 when they're in their teenage years, but not right now. Number 9. If any kind of yours wants to know what the place they came from looks like, if you will, just show them for a short period of time and do this after warning them that it might scar them mentally. Note this.
What?
Yo! Flash your kid! Flash your kid! Flash your kid for educational purposes!
You don't need to do that. You literally don't. You could go find a fucking biology book and show them that way. What the fuck?
I think he's an exhibitionist.
Well, he certainly is an exhibitionist of his brain.
No, he ain't using that. He ain't using that.
This is not child abuse, but suppressing their innocence by depriving them of that sexual knowledge is. In fact, if you want a brother or a sister and you're a little...
Depriving them. Depriving them. You're depriving them of abuse.
He doesn't understand anything. He is the most dim-witted fuck I've ever met.
Oh,
You know what this kind of reminds me of? He reminds me of egg sushi, because his brain left a long time ago.
Okay. Let's try to work that together with everything we've heard thus far. You want parents to let predators around their kids. You want the parents to predate themselves on their kids by scarring them, by whipping out the frankenbeans and the taco. And educationally teaching them. Because you missed this one, you also suggest as soon as age 5 that they learn about sexual education. So you want mommy and daddy to try and explain life sciences to him when they don't even understand the scientific method yet, and then you want mommy to get on her back with daddy, both unclothed, and walk them through the whole process. You want them to teach them how reproduction works too? How a little sister or brother's made too, right in front of them? You know, get the scarring done early. You know, so that it's worked right in there, massaged into their brain cells.
I swear that was a Monty Python sketch where a professor was having sex in front of his students live.
I can't believe he is this stupid. I can't believe he's stupid. I can't believe he's this stupid. I cannot, for the life of me, imagine somebody who says, I want to save the kids by hurting the kids. I don't just want to hurt the kids. I have a personal hatred against all these kids. I want these kids to suffer because I don't like them. I cannot imagine how someone like this is allowed to breathe for longer than it takes them to say these things. Because this is heinous. This is heinous. It's heinous.
I'm in full agreement, and
kid, and if you're old enough to somehow know where you came from, ask them kindly, if they may allow you to. Watch in a safe enough angle, and you're a little kid, and if you're old enough to somehow know where you came from.
Watch from a safe enough angle. So yes, you want mommy and daddy to fuck in front of little Billy. You want little Billy to know exactly how the brother is made.
Ask them kindly, if they may allow you to. Watch in a safe enough angle the process of intercourse without scarring you any further for life. Whatever the fuck you do not punish them for being curious about the meaning of life before they hit puberty. If you do, you're a bad parent. And may nobody have mercy on your soul. It might even save them from being groomed and used for someone else's sick pleasure on the internet.
According to you, Brian, You want the parents to be exhibitionists in front of a toddler.
Excuse me one moment.
You want the parents. You want the parents to be exhibitionists in front of a toddler. You want them to be exhibitionists in front of a toddler. And you want those parents to allow them to watch at a safe distance, fascinatedly looking at them in the throes of intercourse. You want them to carry on with the whoopee in front of their kid and scar them because the child now knows what sexual intercourse is and looks like. You know what? Something that children do when they learn things, Brian. It's a word that starts with the letter E. They emulate. They emulate what they watch. You want a 5-year-old toddler to emulate whatever position you suggest these parents do to teach them this life science. Let's assume it's just basic missionary. You want this kid, during nap time, to just walk up to Mr. Hugginstuff, put him on his back, and just lick a tongue, the entire fur, and then do fucking push-ups on it. Doesn't matter if they're male or female. But let's use the most dangerous scenario this is. This is a male child that you tell them to do this for. Male baby in a nursery or a male toddler at daycare is observed by a female, and they're always female. It shouldn't be that they're always female, but most of them prefer women for obvious reasons. If you need me to explain why it's obvious, then you're not thinking very clearly. Think about it a little harder. Female staff worker witnesses male child mount a teddy bear. The child is going to be isolated from all the girls, and they're going to demand the mother come pick them up and ask them, where did they learn this behavior? They might even call the cops. So your suggestion to help them is to suggest to the parents they make child porn. The only thing they do is don't film it. But it's still child porn. It's the action of doing it. They're exposing them to something that steals their innocence. And then they emulate that onto an inanimate object, or worse, a person. My son learned how to say hello to people by emulating blowing kisses. I wish you tell me that my suggestion to help him learn about sex is that I'm supposed to tee off with Star in front of him. What fucking bonkers worldview made that make sense in your head? That's like a 90% chance to become a registered sex offender right there.
Internet, or their whole bodies later in life being used as a walking, talking $sign for human traffickers. Now, let's get to the next stage, Chapter 7. Now, let us continue with the process known as childhood, but before I do, I want to make sure I'm 100% understandably clear. Do not, and I repeat, do not teach your kids or opine them on any sexual orientation or anything too inappropriate to an extent until they're like 16, 17...
Heaven help me. Heaven help me. Heaven help me. Forward, what have you done to me? Alright.
Need content.
Do fuck in front of your kid. Don't teach them that they are a boy or a girl. Got it.
or even 18, because at that point, if you teach them sex ed when they're kids and relationship advice when they hit puberty and even during that time, they would learn to leave other boys' queequees alone. And for females, they would be taught to leave other females' queequees alone. Now let's get back to it. For education, if your kid finishes each grade level of English, mathematics, science, social studies, and history when it comes to homeschooling them, keep it coming. For dental hygiene and diet, keep it coming and consistently when it comes to being able to encourage them to eat well, get vaccinated every fall, don't give any predator power, and exercise more often, but not too often, especially during heat waves and extreme cold weather. For which case, keep them indoors where there's plenty of heat for the winter and plenty of cool air for the summer. For sexual education, when they advance to the point where they complete the entire course by the time they turn 9 years old, even when they're smart enough to understand.
Sexual education! Complete mastery! Before double digits!
My bitch slapping hand is acting up again.
I'm not. This is not acting. It's hard to swallow right now.
And the gravity of it all, be sure they have learned everything, including keeping their hands to themselves when it matters most, even if it means the last.
Wouldn't that be the first thing I teach them before I teach them anything else? Think you have them wires crossed. Why would I teach them what the Frankenbeans look like before I teach them don't touch other people and keep your hands to yourself?
Resorts culminating in a predator being shot and killed out of self-defense. They're still way too young to be taught any relationship advice of any kind. At this point, if not much earlier, they grow.
They're too young to be taught of relationships, but they're not too young to see mommy mounting daddy or daddy mounting mommy. Okay. All right. Okay.
Out of their baby teeth and start developing what will become the teeth that parents should keep a close watch of when it comes to insurance and making sure your kids keep up with their consistent habit of brushing them, not too hard but not too soft. When they've fully grown their actual teeth, remain vigilant, to the point that when they're grown-ups, encourage them to sign up for their own dental insurance and even either Medicare or Medicaid, if the system may allow it. Before I end this chapter and move on to the final stages of childhood before they head into their teenage years, I will just say one thing that won't trigger you. Keep them away from church as much as you can, not to skip it entirely, but only go there for weddings, funerals.
Yeah, we know why you think that. Shut the fuck up.
And memorial services.
You are one of those shitlord atheists, and I don't like you.
We've watched enough Brian. We've been here before. We've watched enough Brian Mullins the Fox. We know why you don't like church.
Schools. In fact, I should say abolish the entire public school system and let people, especially parents, incentivize the funds and let all those funds go towards homeschooling them, and parents of all minorities would become a whole lot richer when they need it. And that's about it. Now let's move on to chapter 8. So it all comes down to the last 2 years of prepubescent childhood. Your kids at this point would have learned a lot about the main topics and focuses of this entire video as it progresses. Your kids should not get too eager about being in a relationship just yet, because I will explain everything in the next chapter.
What is it?
For someone who's a massive atheist, Brian, you need Jesus.
This nigga does not need Jesus. What he needs is a pad itself. He just suggested that toddlers need to learn what sex is before they're 10. They need mastery of sexual education before they're 10.
I feel filthy just listening to this man.
You should.
No, not this man. This
Thing. The thing.
So, are we talking John Carpenter or Fantastic Four?
No. Don't compare this creature to those things.
Don't. Yeah, don't.
Chapter. Your kids will never be in their childhood years when they turn 13, meaning that this is the last part of the stage of prepubescence. Your kids will more than likely have pearly whites, shower regularly but not too often, use plenty of soap, a wash rag, and put the water temperature right between cold and hot, or lukewarm in other words. They should
Preferably, you want them to have exfoliating gloves. Wash rags is a black concept. But I digress.
shower somewhere between 15 to 30 minutes each session. At least shower once every other day if you as a kid are not getting so dirty so quickly and so often. But if they do, they should at least shower once or twice a day. If your kid needs to relearn something about their sexual education course or some courses like math.
Relearn! Now, this is technically when they would be learning, but if they need to relearn those things they mastered when they were 9,
social studies, English, or whatever in their homeschool programming throughout the years, do so accordingly, and make sure they get it this time if they hadn't before. And at this
oh yes, if they didn't figure out where the labia minora and the labia majora is, just make sure that mommy spreads it nice and wide, boys, on all toes. Woohoo! Gymnastics. Because can't be helped to use a fucking anatomy textbook, a biomechanical readings of how the fucking engine and pistons of the leg work from the fucking femur to the tendon. No. Spread eagle, girls. It's for their education.
At this point, your kids would have already been taught to eat with manners at the dinner table, piss standing up if they're male, or sitting down when they're females. Don't disrespect your parents no matter what, and keep...
Why can't they just learn to just sitting down in general? You don't have to teach them this horrible action of using the phallus as a water gun. You want them to learn how to hold it, and you want them to learn how other people should hold it in the act of cunnilingus or fellatio. I keep coming back to that. Like, it's just, I can't get off of it.
keep their hands to themselves so they're not roughhousing in your home. So right before I get to the teenage years in this video, the golden age for relationship advice, I will just say one thing: I am keeping things as sweet and simple as possible, so I don't have anyone complaining that it's too redundant or too long for their short attention span. I'm trying as hard as I can, but in some cases there are topics that are so fucking long yet so exquisitely goddamn detailed you almost fail in not trying to make things too long. It's pretty fucking hard, and I'm pretty sure you understand that. So let's get to chapter 9, shall we? Now let's get to the most important part of their life, their teenage years. So I will explain everything as to what the relationship advice would be in chapter 14, but suffice it to say, I'm just going to tell them, for any teenager who's just entering their teenage years, if their parent or your parent isn't teaching you any relationship advice before you turn 16 at least, then they're a failure and a dereliction of duty as parents. In fact, their silence is every ounce of proof of guilt when it comes to them enabling the very groomers they would otherwise be so vehemently against out of convenience. You're supposed to be taught relationship advice so you yourself don't manufacture consent, so that you yourself don't become a groomer or a predator inadvertently. Now, let's get to the most important part of their life, their teenage years. So, I will explain everything as to what the relationship advice would be in chapter 14.
We will explain all of the relationship advice in chapter 14.
But suffice it to say, I'm just going to tell them, for any teenager who's just entering their teenage years, if their parent or your parent isn't teaching you any relationship advice before you turn 16 at least, then they're a failure and a dereliction of duty as parents. In fact,
if they do not teach you about how to talk to boys and girls, they are a failure as a parent. Because
their silence is every ounce of proof of guilt when it comes to
their silence of not telling you shit that they want to wait until you discover the concept yourself by living your life.
For them enabling the very groomers they would otherwise be so vehemently against.
Is them enabling groomers that you would already be a victim to because mommy and daddy showed you the hoo-ha at age 5 and then taught you about sexual ambivalence and life sciences at age 9. The math ain't mathin', Mathis.
Of convenience. You're taught relationship advice so you yourself don't manufacture consent, so that you yourself don't become a groomer or a predator inadvertently. And
you don't become a groomer or a predator, but you're a child at a very young age who's been taught by your parents something that you're going to emulate. And you emulating that's definitely not going to get you put into a program where they want to learn exactly where you learned that from and why you were exposed to something of such an erotic and extreme sexual sense. The word that often got used whenever this would happen, when I was on the case, was sexual animalism. Because children are primal in how they emulate things. They will do as they see. So, let's be hypothetical. Let's say dad likes rough sex and mom likes bondage play. The child's going to emulate what they see. Your child is now locked behind bars because they tried to put a woman in an armbar and then they humped them from behind. And with the little squeaky child voice say, "Yeah, bitch, take it, bitch."
I don't want to think about that.
Yeah, you gotta think about it. I have to think about it. I'm hurting myself to make sure I am doing the job that Brian will not fucking do. I'm not having fun thinking of these concepts. It's bringing up painful, traumatic memories that I tried to bury using alcohol. It's not fun!
Oh, I want alcohol.
Well, you can't have me, because I don't get it. It's belligerently dumb how every single nugget is just shit!
3 more months, and I'll be able to drown my sorrows.
And erroneously for the nudes of a minor when you're 17. It's weird if you're 17 and the other person is 13, but it's somewhat normal if it's like 17 and 16. No wonder why the porn industry is so fucking stupid. Only 18 or older. Way to trivialize a problem and not solve it. But back to the...
Well, that doesn't do anything, and that doesn't solve the problem. What was the point of bringing that up? What was the point of that jab? I can promise you, they don't care.
The main point, you're gonna hit puberty. You're gonna see acne all over your face, all over your body. You're gonna start having to wash your face more often. Wash your face in the morning after you wake up. If you're sweating so much, wash your face again in the afternoon or whenever you have time, sometime in the evening, and then wash it again at night, right before you go to bed. And that goes for the body in general as well. Make sure you take a shower. Don't take too many showers, or else you'd be dehydrating your skin and dehydrating your body, enabling more acne to be rampant. But what's more important than talking about acne is talking about your hormones. Yes, I get it. Teenagers have their horny mood swings. I've had mine, but at least I've never had a girlfriend. But that's beside the point, because
That's the entire point, nigga. That's the entire point. What you mean?
dating is so fucking cringe, and God knows why everything.
How do you know that dating is cringe? You never had a girlfriend. Huh? That's like an alcoholic saying, bro, I know everything there is about drinks, but I never imbibed. This has a really nice rusk finish, but I've never known I didn't drink it. Not saying that you can't have intelligence and experience, but I would like you to have some level of confidence on the matter. Because alternatively, it looks like you don't. But no, you not having touched a woman is every problem. Because you didn't learn what you need to learn.
Is so wrong about it nowadays because of feminism, but obviously, don't worry about feminism. Don't worry.
Yes, feminism. Feminism is the reason why you don't have a woman. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
About parents failing you in life. It was bound to happen anyway. But if I become a future parent, should and will not fail you. I'll teach you, keep your hands to yourself. Don't ask to touch other boys' pee-pees or girls' quee-quees, so to speak. Learn that there are barriers and boundaries for a reason. And when you hit 16, oh boy, the age of consent early on would at least encourage you to know what it's like to have a relationship with a girlfriend or a boyfriend if you're female or male or whatever. Dude, I'm not discouraging you because you're gay. I'm fine with you being gay. But be sure to know the harms of having unprotected sex without a condom or having any prior experience with protective sex with condoms. Okay? Simple enough. If you're gonna
like you would know.
Don't give them AIDS. Don't give them AIDS.
Like you would know. I bet you've never touched a woman in your life. You know, I bet you don't even know what it looks like.
He admitted that he never had a girlfriend, so that means he definitely never experimented.
So how the fuck would he know anything? He wouldn't.
He knows what he read in the textbook and saw in porn. He slandered the porn industry in that last instance, saying they don't know nothing. Because, haha, who thinks that 18 is a good point of consent? Who thinks that's a good age to put in the fucking laws? Pain, torment, and pain.
HIV. And for the love of God, please wait until you're either 17 or 18 to think about marrying another person your age or slightly older than you once you turn 18, and nothing else. I know it's not a set in stone system, and I know it's not.
So you want them to learn about porn and sex and the sex industry and everything to do with sexuality from their parents that will be fucking in front of them at a young age of 5 and then repeat it again at 9 to make sure it really stuck in as a lesson. And then you want them to take this lesson plan and apply that to other things that you're attaching to yourself in this game of attack on pedophiles. And you want them to act as though you are not literally one of them. Okay, sure, yeah, I believe you. Totally.
Not perfect, but come on. The system could do better. Your diet should be consistent, your hygiene should be consistent, your activity when it comes to being fit should be consistent as well, regardless of how hot the weather could be or how frigid the weather could be. That shouldn't stop you. And plus, you should continue your homeschooling when you're in high school level homeschooling, and we're gonna talk about higher levels of homeschooling in chapter 10. So we're almost done. I can pretty much just, sum it up right here. Keep it consistent, don't be a bad parent, teach them not to be groomed, teach them to say no when it matters the most, because it's pretty fucking easy just to tell them and teach them to say no. It shouldn't be to the point where it's not enough, but I'll get to the truth about grooming and why it persists in chapter 15, so don't you worry. And with that being said, let's move on to chapter 10, shall we? Now that they're 18 years old and or older, they're adults and are no longer children. Their dental insurance should be easy enough for them to take care of on their own. But for the sake of it, in case they need help filling out info or wants to know more about some aspects of dental insurance, help them. As they are grown up, they should be bodily sound or kind of ripped and skinny at the same time. Or anywhere in between, it doesn't matter, it's not absolute. But at least they should nowhere near be as fat or fatter than the Michelin Man. They should know how to manage and even start a relationship with consenting adults and only consenting adults.
But you don't know how to do that, because you don't even know how to word words in a way where we can be able to consent to what's about to be witnessed.
One of these days, they may have kids, and their kids may have kids, and so on and so forth. When it comes to consent advice, they should be taught to know that boundaries are boundaries, and they're set for a reason. Because they're boundaries. That's it. And if your son is gay or bi while being homo-romantic, if you've taught them what condoms are, how they work, and what lube is, and how to be careful when they're adults being gay AF, go right ahead. But before you do even that, double-check him to see whether or not if he has HIV or AIDS, or if you're a lesbian and want to have sex.
How does the parent double-check their child without a test to let them know that they have the human Human papillomavirus? Yes.
He wouldn't know because he's retarded.
With a partner when you're adults, if she has either HIV or AIDS. If he or she does, find another guy or woman by not making it personal. If not, don't even worry about it. When it comes to education, they should be able to, with your financial and emotional support, find him or herself a university or college that's sane and cheap enough to be eligible to go to finish off their education for themselves. You no longer feel the burden of being a parent that throughout this video you just had to virtualistically go through. And now let's move on to chapter 11. Hygiene and diet, as much as it would make you roll your eyes at me for even opining on, is as important, if not more important, than things like appropriate sex education for prepubescents and relationship and consent advice for teenagers under the age of 16 to 18, before they get into relationships starting at the age of 16 all the way up to 18 for starters. Your kids deserve to have plenty of an opportunity to grow such pearly whites more than I was ever given when I was a kid. To be blunt for a little bit, fatherless homes are far more likely than not. Homes full of kids with broken or rotten teeth heading into adulthood. Being in a motherless home is just as bad as being in a fatherless home, if not more so, in some cases than others. I've only lost 4 teeth in 6 years. I should be fine for the moment. It's not perfect. I have had that whole run of being and living in a fatherless home throughout my childhood and a good portion of my...
Okay. We're learning a lot of lessons here. I don't like what I'm learning.
Teenage years. Your kids deserve a diet worth living a long and impressively amazing life, and when the time your parents are no longer on the same planet as you, there will become a time where you will be a parent one day. This video should help you somewhat remedy common problems that kids face in both a fatherless and motherless home. Now, when it comes to the specific...
I doubt it, because you can get your ass beat enough.
Into going deeper on how and why diet is important, I'll cover that in chapter 16. I wasn't raised the same way you should raise your kids now, or as I suggest in this video. My mother neglected to provide me and my other sibling inadequate enough coverage for dental insurance after the divorce. She should have cut back on all the cigarettes and booze to get us fully covered, so that both of us have adequate enough pearly whites, or at least adequate enough teeth that aren't perfect.
And then she should have showed you her hoo-ha to teach you what the hoo-ha looks like. And then she should have grabbed the big black Mambo number 5 and did some freaky deaky shit with it to make sure you understand what sexual intercourse looks like. You know, with black men. My brain is a frying because the shit he's saying doesn't make sense, and he just keeps talking!
Not only that, she should have had us on a consistent enough diet, and we all would have had more fun doing outside activities without getting each other or getting ourselves hurt. My mom shouldn't have gone out on dates when she would have otherwise been with us long enough not to have me worrying and crying while napping one time, and it lasted hours until she finally came home. I used to be a worrywart of a kid. I grew up and I then stopped worrying anywhere near as much when I headed towards the age of 18. So in conclusion, parents need to do way better when it comes to their diet. Sure, if they still want to eat what they eat, fine, let them. But don't let them gorge into so much of that processed food that they become walking, talking tubs of lard, or even worse, dead. I am thankful enough that my mother cares somewhat adequately about my overall health, but it's not perfect and it shouldn't have to be. And somehow I am not, nor am I anywhere near a lard ass here. The lowest I ever weighed was 172, and currently last I've checked as of recording this video, it was at 217.2. So I should be good.
I call bullshit.
Oh, I call.
We've seen what you look like, boy. That's a lie. The lie detector determined that's a motherfucking lie.
How fun. How fun.
To chapter 12. Education, as I have progressively demonstrated in this video, is important, and it's only necessary and important to homeschool them until they either hit 18 years old and finished all their homeschool courses and grades, or finished them after turning 18 or below 18 or older. Doesn't matter, it depends. Never put them through public school, because as generations continue to grow, they get dumber and dumber, and your kid might...
So you think that everybody should be homeschooled?
Apparently.
But you also think that people are incompetent because they don't understand that CP needs to be legalized in order to get rid of groomers.
But you want the...
Do you see how your logic is stupid?
But you also forgot the fun part. You also want the parents to have sexual intercourse in front of the child when the child at 5 years old asks them about sexual behavior so that they can emulate that behavior all the way to 9. And then if they need a remedial course in fucking, just pop a squat right there, just bend on over and teach them this is what it looks like when a man does his business, son. And then also make sure that they know other things other than that. And if you haven't taught them about these things by that time that they're 13, you have failed them as a parent. That's crazy. That's almost as crazy as somebody not knowing that I am what I am. Yes, I am still streaming. Indeed. Lord have mercy. Why are you the way you are? We know why I know why you're the way you are, but that doesn't make it okay.
As a result, or even at worst, commit suicide at the worst of times. Never put them through a private school either, because they more likely than not will become mass shooters, and all the boomers can only...
No, they're more likely to fuck. I know, I went to those private schools. They're more likely to fuck. You know why? Private schools where you send problem children. Do you know what happens when you put a problem child in a room with another problem child? They become drug users. They become drug pushers. They become drug sellers. Are you saying that they just become addicts? No, I'm saying the same thing I said earlier. It's called a parallel. They become the people who supply the problem. You put a problem boy and a problem girl in a room, and they learn while they have emotions running through their body that they even kinda sorta like each other. You've got yourself an episode of Degrassi. Okay? It's gonna happen. No matter what. I remember, because the particular private school I went to was the show choir private school, where they match religion and Jesus with lights, camera, and action. And these boys and girls were getting in that action. They were getting in the library. They were getting in the gymnasium. They were getting in the bathroom. When it was a Halloween presentation and we had to be a part of the scare theater, they were getting it on in the coffin. They were getting it on in the broom closet. They were getting it on in the ball storage. They were getting it on next to the fucking falafel machine. They were getting it on next to the cotton candy machine. They were getting it on in the shed where they keep the cotton candy sugar. They were fucking. And now at least 7 of those girls have 2 kids by each of those 5 men.
There was definitely some sugar being made in that cabin, or closet, or whatever you call it.
One of them actually got a UTI infection. 1 second. There was a doorbell. Excuse me 1 second, I need to use the bathroom.
Alright. So how are you doing, Horror?
I'm here. That's all I can say. And very soon I'm going to be hopping off and hanging out with the dogs. So.
Probably gonna have to call some people and find something to do, because
Lord have fucking mercy. I am going to bust with laughter.
Do is blame it on video games or blame it on something else other than them being bad parents and younger parents being terrible deadbeats who put their own kids through private schools. Just don't make it hard for them to learn. That's just it. And now I'll cover sexual education now. Folks, you never came from the clouds, where a fictitious deity...
He thinks that video games are more harmful than fucking in front of your child.
Oh my god, the retardation.
blasted you down to earth in a hospital. You never came from a cloth that was previously and preciously sealed up by a stork, ready to just deliver in the right house just at the right time. No, none of that shit. Kids need to understand the harms of sexually transmitted diseases, grooming, and a lack of sexual education before they hit puberty. You know, the very thing that...
Why? Why? Why, Brian? Why do they need to know that? Before 10! You never told us why! And the answer can't be because this is gonna protect them from predators. Because it doesn't! It just guards them!
He wants them that way so they will You want him that way, so them little kids can say, "Oh yeah, I'd love to do that stuff with you, Brian. Come on, let's go."
Creates the groomers. Anyone suggesting otherwise may or may not have a skeleton or two in their closets. When they hit puberty, to recap, should only
They have skeletons in their closet. Okay.
be taught relationship advice, not to encourage them to date at an earlier age than at least 16 because that's gross and wrong, but to understand how relationships work much better without injecting feminism or appropriation over prevention into it. Look,
You know, you keep doing this thing where you have some casual, professional misogyny. Feminism and MGTOW? Or feminism and red pill? No, just feminism. I think... Oh, he did tell us that he hated his mother, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll get into the truth about grooming in chapter 15, so just be patient. Ladies and gentlemen, you all come from a man and a woman having sexual intercourse, the long progress of pregnancy and birth. That's it. It doesn't need to be glorified, sugar-coated.
But what if they're an in vitro child and they came from a test tube? What if their parents is soon to be divorced Count Dankula and his wife, and actually their pregnancy came from being sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends?
Yeah, boy.
Men have penises and testicles, and women have vaginas and placentas. I have a penis and testicles, yet I will not show that to you because, one, you don't need to show that. You don't need to see it. And two, I don't have any children, and if I were to show them for an example, that would be wrong because they're not my children.
But you also, three, didn't have to say that, because why the fuck did you say that? That was a weird thing to say. That was a weird tangent.
Men ejaculate sperm, women don't come, and whether or not it's perfect timing to have intercourse isn't as easy as it seems.
Excuse me? Go back again. There was something in there that I heard. Huh?
It doesn't need to be glorified, sugar-coated, or even stigmatized either. Men have penises and testicles, and women have vaginas and placentas. I have a penis and testicles, yet I will not show that to you because, one, you don't need to show that. You don't need to see it. And two, I don't have any children, and if I were to show them for an example, that would be wrong because...
But you gotta show it to your kids, right?
Sperm, women...
Yes, you gotta show it to the kids. Gotta show it to the kids.
Can't roll my eyes any harder.
But there's something right there after that section. Let's hold that in.
You don't need to see it. And two, I don't have any children, and if I were to show them for an example, that would be wrong because they're not my children. Men ejaculate sperm, women don't come, and...
Wait, did he say women don't come?
Yes!
Yeah. He just
Oh, tell me you've never seen porn without telling me you've never seen porn. That was the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Because I can tell you right now, I, from personal experience, can say they do. Okay?
I can say from personal experience. You see, you broke it. You've made it bad, Brian. I can't even joke. I can't even make the cringy dad jokes. You've destroyed the element for which I have been trained and bred for. You made it shit. Now anything I say is gonna be sleazy compared to the shit that you say.
Whether or not it's perfect timing to have intercourse isn't as easy as it seems. For example, females go through their periods. They last somewhere between 25 to 35 days. Hell, you can have them teach...
25 to 35 days. That sounds wrong, but I'm gonna let it...
What?
25 to 35 days for an ovulation cycle of a period.
No. It should be between 21 and 28.
Where did you get these numbers from?
From his butt?
their own teenage kids not to be groomed without having to even discourage them from being on the internet entirely. Parents, you don't get to shift the blame towards something that didn't cause them to be this willfully ignorant and hopelessly horny when it only seems to be that you're the reason to begin with. That just means...
Okay, so you told the parents to fuck in front of their kids and to make sure they understand what they witnessed before age 9. Or before age 10, at the crux of age 9. They are already going to be responsible for fucking their kid up.
He also says that parents should be responsible for teaching their kids and homeschooling them. If you think they're incompetent with doing that, what makes you think that they can actually teach them, you know, the shit they really need to know in order to pass and have a GED?
you all had everything to hide and nothing to say. Am I right? I'm not going through every single detail that comes with sexual education because that would be redundant and a waste of time. But the point is, do exactly this, very carefully. And now let's get to chapter 14. Now when it comes to relationship advice, it should be simple. Learn how to persist in keeping your hands to yourself. You know the very same thing you were taught as a kid? Don't expect it to be all hoochie coochie and hunky dory and you could just touch anyone inappropriately unless if it's not inappropriate. Teach them not to let their hormones or their own hormones get the best of them, especially if they are unaware or completely oblivious to the fact that they might get groomed or are somehow near by a predator and they just weren't aware at the time. If they're not anywhere near a predator or are in no position of being groomed, don't worry too much about it. Don't become a schizo by saying that you shouldn't be in any relationship until they turn 18. That's fucking schizo for a reason. They can start as early as 16 because that's the earliest age when it comes to the age consent laws, because every state has them.
They can start as early as 16 with a horrible background and bad advice that is going to fuck up their ability to understand intimacy. At a time where their body is telling them, coon, 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 coon. Clever. Very, very clever. Very clever, sir.
If they want to, and if they can still consent 16 to 18 with other consenting teens and or adults, then it's fine. Let's get to the big elephant in the room. Consent advice. Learn to know when and how it's appropriate to date somebody your own age or someone that's slightly older or a little bit younger to you. Because if you're 18, you're dating 17-year-old, that's pretty much normal. Don't let that fact discourage you. Learn to know how to put your knowledge of sex ed into practice or praxis. Learn whether or not to say no in any situation.
Practice or praxis? Well, sir, praxis is practice. You're putting it into effect. It's not theory. You're not saying the shit, you're doing the shit. But more importantly, you want a 16-year-old child? 16-year-old child to engage, even if it's safe, in sex? You really want them to engage in sex? Yeah, that's a head scratcher. You want them to have the best possible chance to not be fucked up, so you want them to be fucked up beyond belief, and then you want them to immediately act on the urge to stick and be stuck whenever and wherever they can? Are you sure you're not trying to directly groom them so that you can take advantage of them yourself? This is oddly specific advice, bro.
Learn how to fight back at sexual harassment. Just because you're a teen doesn't at all mean that you're too helpless to help yourself. Because people who say you are either stupid, ignorant, or just downright evil. If you're able to establish...
That's probably the only piece of wholesome good advice you've given thus far. Which fucking horrifies me. Completely. This video is a level beyond the last two, bro. Well done. You have found a way to really scar the shit out of all of us. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Establish a relationship early on while providing a sexual barrier that protects themselves and yourself from leering predators and aspiring groomers. You're only doing it for the best of your life and relationship, even if and when you fail. For some relationships, you're designed to fail, but that's okay. You're not entitled to a relationship. You're not entitled to consent with anyone, regardless if you know their age or not, because that's where predators and groomers come from in this context. Now, before I get into chapter 15, I'm going to get this.
They come from a lack of consent.
And you come from a lack of understanding of how the world works. You come from a lack of brain cells.
Comes from a lack of care. His daddy didn't care to put a condom on. His mother didn't care to take the plan B. She didn't care enough to use a hanger. There's a lot of things that your parents didn't care enough to do. But bro, how the fuck you gonna tell us predators come from a lack of understanding? You created a little fucking sex fiend at age fucking 5. He's humping everything in the room, worse than a dog, and you want them to
make it sense.
I digress. I fucking digress.
Warning through the video so that people can understand when to click off. So if you want to click off now, and if you're too much of a snowflake, this is your only time.
Truth bomb trigger warning. The following chapter may or may not trigger another shitstorm and may offend you if you choose against your better judgment to watch anyways. Why are you using sound effects that make me feel like I'm watching a fucking episode of Beta Carnus? The topics surrounding the subject are too obvious to be mentioned here. Just click off if you can't handle anymore. But if you can still soldier on, go right ahead. You get no medal after this, though. Okay.
This patronizing thing.
Motherfucker! Stop giving us warnings! We get it! Now out with this warning out of the way, you may proceed with caution.
So, it has finally come down to this. The most truth bomb of them all is about to be said in a little bit. But I have to warn you all beforehand. It's going to possibly trigger up another shitstorm like the first long-form commentary video did. Groomers and grooming never came out of nowhere and never became a problem for no reason. And do you all really want to know the one thing that everybody keeps on justifying to themselves? That is the main cause of grooming. That one word is stigma. Now, to be fair and clear, jerking off to CP is morally wrong and degenerate. But as I've said before, jerking off to any porn at all is not social. It is solitary. But even a pedophile with a porn addiction can see that
You would know.
enables the very
You would know.
problem we'd be fighting against altogether without it. I am not a pedo or a predator. Never will be. Nor am I a sex offender, much less a registered one. I'm not.
You are.
I am under the belief that you are, sir. You are suggesting things that no YouTuber would say on a digital medium and then upload to the internet if they were not doing a skit where the entire point was supposed to be dry pan humor designed to make someone feel a certain way. This is what I expect Sam Hyde to do when he is trying to find a new routine that's going to get people to feel a certain way. But okay, all right. You say you're not, so we're just going to have to take your word for it. We're not going to. We're going to just have to take your word for it.
Not on the list, and plus, I never will be on the list. And stigma, in only this one context and one context alone, is the same stigma surrounding porn in general. Not just child porn, because people are too fucked to get the difference between that and actual child abuse material, or even child rape material. Because the set abuse material
You're an idiot!
or faked.
They don't have to know the difference. They can just throw it all away. It's all bad.
Throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's all bad. It's all tainted.
Don't just throw out the baby. Throw out the entire tub. Throw out the entire house. Why don't you?
It's
Oh,
real. People making money
Brian.
off of that trivializes the very definition of porn. Porn is supposed to be staged, scripted, and even played out to illustrate to the people who consume it that while you are jerking off to any kind of porn, you...
No, sir. That's what we call fake porn. There's also gonzo porn, where I just turn on a webcam and hey, here's $50. You want this big black man with his giant package to penetrate you?
have access to, or should have access to, without any crackdown that further trivializes groomers and predators to this day and keeps the sex trafficking rings alive. This material isn't actual abuse material. Just like lolly isn't abuse material, hentai isn't abuse material, it's just fictional CP. Just because you're a pedo doesn't automatically mean that you're into actually abusing children. Just like because you're heterosexual doesn't automatically mean you're into abusing women or even wanting to hurt them. Because the stigma...
I don't believe you. You have too much professional misogyny. I don't believe you.
is ass backwards and retarded. We need to get rid of the stigma so we can get rid of predators. The reason why we have the stigma against porn is the same reason why society is sexually and religiously restrictive. We need to get rid of the stigma, like I've said countless times in this video, to reduce the number of grooming victims and groomers to whatever extent is necessary. Just note that getting rid of all groomers and grooming victims is unrealistic. Just like getting rid of child predators and putting all pedos in prison for life is unrealistic as well. Now,
But the number can always go lower. And you could help by expanding the list. Chick.
Now here it comes. Here's one of the most brutal truth bombs in this video. Groomers don't just groom for no reason because they're encouraged to do so. They do all of their nasty, predatory deeds in return for money and or acceptance from either the community they're plaguing as a cancer or the grooming victim that may or may not be needlessly retarded and hopelessly horny just for the sake of argument, or even
That is fucking retarded. What kind of sense does that make?
both, because their parents have
None.
failed them. Most of the time, they, as in the groomers, succeed because parents are a failure, and the stigma they have towards the very groomers and preds they hate so much, just like they have stigma towards porn, is the same stigma they enable for them to even be there in the first place, to groom other minors. Now, there's a huge difference between porn and an actual sex tape. Just making money off of fucking abuse material does not make it porn. In fact, it trivializes the definition. Here's another truth bomb. The stigma surrounding CP that isn't abuse material is the same stigma that groomers justify for the means of said grooming, because instead of making child sex trafficking literally impossible by lawmakers, actually targeting the very act of abusing children, or going to other countries just so they could rape children and make money off of their suffering, and even doing all of that for causing endless harm and trauma, leaving parents and lawmakers no choice but to shoot their own mouths off and shoot themselves in the foot by banning the porn instead of the abuse material they traffic all over the world. Suppressing the groomer is the same as suppressing the victim of the grooming by said groomer, because stigma is the thing that silence comes as a result from. Same goes for enabling the grooming victim is just the same as enabling the very groomer they're the victim of. They should have gone after that first in 1976 or 1977, but they didn't. They went after the so-called porn because they made money off of it. Why people call actual abuse material porn just because they make money off of it is either a mystery for the ages or further proof that child porn wasn't the main issue. In fact, this may just also be further proof that this problem of grooming and groomers was manufactured by either a mix of the government and parents abroad because of the parents not in spite of them. Groomers are and were never powerful without the parents. In fact, the opposite is true. Without the parents, there wouldn't be any groomers, because if they're not making money off of what they can't achieve, they won't do it. They don't just manufacture consent with the parents and not know what they're in it for. That ties in with another thing, a lack of sexual education, relationship, and even consent advice, so that when they're at the age of consent, they don't get groomed or needlessly raped. By manufacturing consent, grooming, and even watching porn with them is indicative of one fact. It's not the porn that's the reason. It's not the grooming that's the main issue, even though it's one of the major ones. And
The grooming is not at fault for why your son was predated on by this predator man.
It's certainly not that these children aren't even taught sex ed until 3 to 4 years after they hit puberty. The main reason and problem is that when parents manufacture consent by not teaching them said sex ed before they hit puberty and teaching them not to be groomed when they do, essentially and sometimes directly giving these predators and groomers what they want when they want it, and all of this, regardless of how it's going to affect the very victims of such in the long run. That's how. Parents give up that opportunity by assuming that there wouldn't be any problems such as grooming or child predation. But it doesn't entirely prevent it from happening though. And I don't care how much it triggers you, yes, it is the parents' fault. Parents share as much of the blame, if not slightly more, of the blame than the predator could ever possibly take. Yes, that's right. In short terms, parents being too concerned as to teaching them sex ed, consent advice, relationship advice, and even teaching them how not to be groomed before they hit puberty, or even when they do, that makes the most sense. Sharing the same stigma that again groomers themselves justify with their actions, which is actually worse than just jerking off to fictional CP like Lolly and some portions of fucking hentai or Cub. Pedos make their choices, but most of the time you don't see them end up getting arrested or sent to prison just because they went to pixels on a goddamn screen. People who jerk off to porn in general, not just that.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but did he just mention cub porn?
I don't know. Let's keep listening.
Adults should be doing it within the privacy of their room. They should be left alone. And if they're so desensitized to the point where they don't do that anymore, leave them alone and make sure they are kept comfortable with getting help and actually getting the need that they so desperately deserve. Either that, or if you actually had committed a crime in your PO, be comfortable with turning yourself in, knowing that you've actually done something wrong towards children that's against the law. I know, it's not a popular opinion, because popular opinions are fucking cringe and retarded, but I'm going with it. I have dropped 2, maybe 3 truth bombs in this chapter alone. So now let's move on to chapter 16. Their diet and how they eat is one of the most important aspects of their lives that
Oh, how they eat is the most important aspect of their life. Not them going through a childhood without being molested by your bad advice. Okay, alright.
parents neglect to pay attention enough to. I would make a long segment originally about this, but this is not the first time where I've covered this part. But back on March 30th, 2023, I made this video called How to Actually Be a Parent Before You Make Kids, Episode 1, Feeding Them the Right Way. For some reason, I decided to abandon this would-be series and focus on more important things then. But with all that being said, I will play you a massive and juicy clip, and then we'll get to Chapter 17. Hello everybody, I am Brian Mullins the Fox.
Like the roast game.
The fucking audio quality fucking took a giant dive and he even does himself like we fucking care what his name is. Oh my god.
Of a new series I like to call How to Actually Be a Parent Before You Make Kids. The first episode.
I thought you said you weren't a parent.
But this mini-series is called Feeding Them the Right Way, and its slogan is, you fertilize your soil before you plow and plant your seeds, not after.
Don't say fertilize, don't say plow.
To be 100% clear, I'm not a doctor of any kind, nor am I a physician. I do not have kids, and may have kids of my own as long as I find a woman who can naturally lactate.
Where? Where you gonna find her? Is she a kidnap victim? Is...
A shit ton, or in other words, plenty of breast milk in the next couple, few, or if not 10 years. If not, some powdered breast milk that doesn't contain dairy of any kind. It's not her fault not every woman can accomplish this exaggerated feat I just mentioned. What nutrients, vitamins, or proteins that the baby gets without having teeth is based on the quality of the mother's diet and how able she is to lactate. It's only
This, while true, is laden with misogyny.
a matter of time if any woman consents to me being her husband or a future parent at all, not the other way around. It's not something you demand.
Nobody will.
It's something you...
Nobody should. Nobody will and nobody should.
You simply ask for her. I'm going to try my best to help determine what your baby or child should be fed without them having the risk of cancer, diabetes, heart disease, obesity, etc. Before I determine what they should be fed, be it a food or a drink, I must first determine what they shouldn't eat or drink. Granted, if to you it's only concerning children and not babies, at least feed them with a balanced meal or diet. No more meat than vegetables because meat should be at least bare minimum. I'm not simply dictating exactly what you should feed them because I tell you so, but simply because you are an influence on your kids, and it's absolutely paramount that you don't malnourish or misfeed your kids. If you do, you're not just a bad parent, but you're a bad human being as well. Nor should you overfeed them, because too much of anything good for you or bad for you is a bad thing as well. So without further ado, let's begin. The determinations are based on these countless studies that are too many to mention aloud. I'll just pop them up in the screen if I can find any. Concerning the connection of are based on these countless studies that are too many to mention aloud. I'll just
Better yet, I can give you 10 examples of the countless studies done by many experts. I would love to see these numbers. I'm totally not gonna immediately start doing and calling up people and ask Aiden Paladin to come in here and start looking at the numbers of these things and give her a fucking heart attack. Nah, I wouldn't do that.
pop them up in the screen if I can find any. Concerning the connection of these foods or whatever to cancer, diabetes, heart disease, obesity, etc. These determinations are not solely based on opinions, anecdotes, or speculation. Unless your child is just prone to catch these diseases due to genetics, bad lineage, or bad habits outside of their diet, like smoking cigarettes or vaping, these determinations should be recommended to any future parent with a brain big enough and a heart big enough to not only think of themselves and not their children at the same time, which is pretty...
Well, you see, if they were thinking of their children and not themselves, they'd say, look, baby, I love you dearly, we've been together for 21 years, but you have all the markers for melanoma. And I can't put my dick in something like that and bust inside of it knowing that they're going to have to deal with that. So we're going to have to call it Splitsville.
Be selfish. Here we go. No, fruit juice. You can eat the fruits, sure, but you can't drink the fruits without having the mere chance of cancer later in their lives. 2. Baby food that contains fruits, sugars, or processed ingredients in general. If all baby food is processed garbage, avoid feeding your baby this stuff altogether. Only feed your baby breast milk either from your breast or processed non-dairy powdered milk. If your child is lactose intolerant, either shorten their need or amount for breast milk they'll get as they age, not to just cut it off entirely immediately when they're babies, or give them dairy-free powdered milk to fool their lactose intolerant system so they can accept the alternative, not the other choice. 3.
Now, I didn't need you to tell us that. I told Chat that. You fucked Brian.
Processed or processed milk.
No, I take it back. Don't get fucked, Brian.
Of any other kind than either natural milk.
Protect your seed. No fap.
From the breast or non-dairy powdered breast milk, even if it contains soy. More and more studies show that consuming copious or moderate amounts of milk increases your chances of diabetes, heart disease, or both. It depends on which study you read. 4. Meat of all kinds from any animal, including fish, without grains like rice or vegetables like broccoli to balance it out. It's not that you should avoid all meats at all times, just balance it out. It's not that hard. 5. Excessive amounts of sugar from processed or artificial foods, for example, excessive amounts of candy, fruits, or animal crackers. 6. Excessive amounts of carbs from processed or artificial foods, for example, excessive amounts of noodles, french fries, or fast food. 7. Yogurt, be it artificial or not, because it is mainly a dairy product just like cheese, without the vegetables. 8. Dairy cheese products processed in a factory without fruits or vegetables to balance them out. 9. Excessive amounts of processed fats, animal fats, or any other type of fats. 10. Excessive amounts of soda, sparkling water, or any other carbonated or non-carbonated drink containing excessive amounts of sugar. 11. Do not feed them macaroni and cheese without vegetables and grains of rice to balance it out. 12. Do not feed them any nuts, dairy, or anything else specific if your child is allergic to them. 13. Do not feed them raw meat. 14. Do not feed them any raw, rotten, or dairy products that are unprocessed/processed.
Do you need to tell people, hey, don't serve food that could potentially still have maggots and eggs in it from when the animal was being consumed by parasites from the inside? Do you really need to tell parents, hey, cook that beef before you put it in little Timmy's mouth? Sizzle that bacon and stamp out its necktie. Do you really gotta... Really?
Then again, there are nutritional facts on water bottles, so I'm not surprised.
Alone, it heightens the risk for heart disease, cancer, and/or diabetes. 15. Do not feed them with an excessive amount of vegetables, because of course, too much of a good thing is also a bad thing. 16. Do not feed them with an excessive amount of dairy because it causes diabetes, cancer, or both. Only a...
Well, I don't even know. I can't even bullshit up an answer for that one. Don't eat vegetables. Man, Vegan Gaines is fucking rotating in his goddamn chair. Woo!
So not only is this guy a child-rearing expert, a sexpert, he's also a dietitian.
What can't the furries do?
He's a modern Christopher Lee. He's done everything. He knows everything. He sees everything. He is the furry messiah.
More like furry antichrist.
Prevent both. 17. Do not give them any raw eggs
Amen.
because it causes cancer and or other illnesses later in life as the child grows up. 18. Do not feed them eggs, bacon, or cereal for their breakfast if they're old enough to have teeth and walk on their two legs. It's very unhealthy. Too many sugars, too much sodium, and too many health risks.
But what if it's healthy cereal? What then?
Just don't do it. 19. Don't feed them an excessive amount of nuts, proteins, nutrients, or vitamins. And finally 20. Don't feed them an excessive amount of anything else that has not yet been mentioned on this list. Now, with all that shit out of the way, here are the 20 reasons, things, or ways you can feed your children/babies without them having the risk of getting cancer, diabetes, heart disease, suffer from obesity, impotence as they grow up, generational shortcomings, erectile dysfunction, etc. You can't ever blame your children because they have a bad diet. Their brains have never fully processed yet, unlike their parents. So clearly parents would be to blame in this situation. But nonetheless, let's start with number 1. Fruits. Apples, oranges, grapes, bananas, watermelon, raspberries of all kinds, cranberries, and strawberries are several examples. 2. Vegetables. Carrots, broccoli, asparagus, cauliflower, lettuce, cabbage, onions, garlic, potatoes, kale, etc. as several examples. 3. Nuts for babies or children without allergies to any nuts, peanuts, cashews, pistachios, macadamias, almonds, etc. If your child has nut allergies, don't give them nuts or anything else that contains nuts. 4. A well-balanced amount of dairy except for cow milk, like natural cheese from goats, cows, sheep, and any other animal that can lactate as part of their natural process of making and aging cheese. 5. Any meat with a balanced portion of vegetables.
But Brian, I thought I was supposed to avoid shit that was bad for me in excess. You said so. Brian?
Vegetables, grains like rice and fruit, as long as it's not just fully processed garbage. 6. Any dairy that isn't milk with a balanced portion of vegetables, grains like rice, and fruit, as long as it's not just fully processed garbage. 7. A diet consisting of a well-balanced amount of sugar, much less than usual, but not too little where their blood sugar has to suffer. You do need sugar for your diet, a little bit, but not too much. 8. A diet consisting of a well-balanced amount of fats, much less than usual, but not too little. 9. A diet consisting of a well-balanced amount of carbohydrates. 10. A diet consisting of a well-balanced amount of water on the side to rinse their food down. 11. A diet consisting of no processed foods, all natural, including natural soy, in all its forms, in all its great value and glory. 12. For average or normal babies, no matter what they're actually afflicted with birth, stop breastfeeding them when they're old enough to have grown out their baby teeth or walk on their 2 legs and feet or have been fully potty trained, preferably at the age of between 3 to 5 years old. 13. Keep the diet half vegan and half carnivore, or what I like to call a vegetarian or megan diet. Not too much of either diet, just keep it
For dumbass.
Yep.
It's called omnivore. Holy shit.
My brain cells, they're leaking out of my ears. Oh my god. It's so fucking stupid to listen to him talk.
Never be too strict with determining their diet. You may be stern, but not too strict. If they want dairy, say sure, but advise them to either not eat too much of it or not to have it without veggies and or fruit to balance it out. Self-discipline is key. 15. A diet consisting of a well-balanced amount of proteins, nutrients, and vitamins. 16. Consistency is key when preparing or cooking foods that they'll eat without having so much as a little chance of catching or getting cancer, heart disease, diabetes, etc. 17. Your children or babies can't rely on dairy or breast milk forever, or they're just downright lactose disabled, or more brutally put, edibly retarded. A very rare instance where a baby or child can't be fed anything, either due to allergies, intolerances, and or health issues if you feed them anything, but can't be starved to death at the same time. It's like saying a flame retardant can't completely put a fire out and contribute to the fire spreading at the same time. 18. Your children either can't only be vegans or can't only be carnivores. Both diets are inconsistent without one another. 19. A diet consisting of consistency in general is key as well. And finally, number 20, keep everything they eat or drink as natural as possible, not containing any artificial flavoring, any artificial byproducts. Anything artificial can damage or risk their health later on. Here's my brief rant. Before the conclusion, I just gave 40 determinations/recommendations for future wannabe parents. This isn't to discourage or shame parents who already have children with either a poor diet or poor eating habits.
What about parents that are just able to fucking keep the shit together? Huh? No, I gotta shame the parents too. With the advice you gave them.
Again, the series' slogan is, you fertilize your soil before you plow and plant your seeds.
Stop
Not after. If you
saying those words in that order.
want to be a parent but disagree with these recommendations or determinations, I'm sorry, but you really shouldn't have children. Not to sound like
Take your own advice there.
You shouldn't have kids if you can't listen to my advice. But I'm not a parent yet, maybe.
an absolute dick or anything, but it's for the good of the gene pool. Now, here's my conclusion. Be careful when thinking.
For the good of the gene pool. For the good of the gene pool.
I need you to, like, remove yourself from the gene pool. Because, we don't want you breeding, Brian.
Thinking about having children, but not just making sure that future offspring of yours lives by these 40 determinations/recommendations, but also... Here's my conclusion. Be careful when thinking about having children, by not just making sure that future offspring of yours lives by these 40 determinations/recommendations, but also that you live by them too. I am Brian Mullins the Fox, signing out. My fellow male counterparts. Alright kids, gather around. I am going to give you all advice your father or mother never had the balls to teach you. This chapter will...
This is advice that's gonna be for teaching you what they didn't have the balls to do. Okay.
include the most...
Show us the balls.
Powerful, offensive to the snowflake, brutal truth bomb in this entire video. The truth about how parents treat teaching sex ed to their kids before they hit puberty is that it's wrongly stigmatized. Like I've mentioned before in chapter 15, why this is stigmatized is the same reason why groomers are allowed to get away with their predatory behavior until it's seemingly convenient.
Okay, tell us how parents having sex in front of the kids is going to keep them safe. Go ahead.
It's not.
This, as a parent, should not at all be stigmatized the way it is today. I got a really important question. Would it be impossible to solve grooming by just waiting until they hit puberty and likely after that for them to find out the hard way if they're not so isolated and placated in this vacuum of a hug box that's keeping them in hiding from the real world? Or maybe, just maybe, would it just be a breeze to teach your young not to come looking for trouble when it comes to grooming as well as teaching them sex ed before they hit puberty? The most
That sounds like excuses, sir.
brutal truth bomb is that we treat these very easy to solve issues such as grooming like it's damn near impossible without law enforcement or government because we stigmatize the real solution which placates and encourages the groomer to do what they do in the meantime simultaneously. The brutal irony of teaching them this before they hit puberty is that you also teach them to control their urges before puberty gets to decide what...
I don't think it does because they don't have off switches.
They do, if they're out of control, of course. And even physically showing where they came from as a result, scarring them enough to be convinced not to come looking for another wannabe influence in their life. To put it this way, if you are a father and your son gets scarred because you've shown him exactly where he came from, in other words, and right after that said, "No touching my pee-pee," would be one of the funniest moments as he grows up not to touch other guys' pee-pees, if you will. Actually, go way further than that. Teach them not to touch their own private regions unprovoked, and even punish some of them for encouraging inappropriate sexual behaviors towards themselves and others until they turn 16, 17, or for the most brutally degenerate, 18.
So scar them like the character being portrayed by Jeremy something Clark in movie 14, movie 13, whatever the fuck it was. The skit where he's supposedly being house... Oh, actually, no! That's a perfect case example! Wait a second. Movie 43. Jeremy. Movie 43. Movie 43. I need a summary. Jeremy Allen White. I got his name so fucking wrong. Anyways, Wikipedia. Plot. Cast. Alternative. Blah, 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 blah. Pitches and scripts. Da, 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 da. Final segments. Homeschooled. Recently moved in, Sean and Clark have coffee with their new neighbors, Robert and Samantha, who have a teenage son, Kevin, whom they homeschool. They begin inquiring about the homeschooling, and Robert and Samantha describe how they replicated a full high school experience, going as far as hazing, bullying, ostracizing, and giving out detentions. To make the experience as awkward as possible, like real high school, they threw parties that excluded Karen. Samantha instigated Kevin's first kiss, and Robert revealed romantic feelings for Kevin. Visibly disturbed, the neighbors end up meeting Kevin, who says he's going out and gives the impression that all is fine. Before he reveals a doll made of a mop with Samantha's face on it, referring to the doll as his girlfriend. This is the world of Brian Mullins the Fox. Fuck your kid up and make them believe this is how it's cool to be. But if you don't do this, you're an abuser, you're a monster, and you're an inconsiderate loser who just wants to abuse children. How does Brian know this? Because he hates his mom. Real shit! Real shit! Real shit. The shit is in fact real.
Years old. And to bring this up, I made my disgust towards CP perfectly clear in my first long-form commentary video. I may not smoke weed or do drugs because maybe it's gross and wrong for you to do that, but keep all drugs legal and stop making these harmless recreational users of it into hardened criminals. Here's a juicy clip for that. People, be they on the left or the right, instead of honestly and actually having a conversation about how we can deal with pedophiles and child predators in a safe and non-abusive way, have instead resorted to accusing anybody that they disagree with of being pedophiles falsely. Not that you should dare to consume that filthy material. The fact that anyone does makes me want to throw up. Holy shit, that's disgusting. I'm against this CP content being consumed at all, but banning all of it permanently in the future will make child predators impossible to get rid of. If porn's allowed to be fiction and it harms no one, not even children, then it shouldn't be illegal. It's a pretty controversial take. I'm not pro-CP. Of course not. I'm anti-CP, but I'm also against banning it. Parents, the government, and bad policies that only made the problem of child sex trafficking worse are the people that turned harmless quote-unquote pedos into hardened child sex predators. If we all were just smart enough to get the difference to what is harmless and what's not, we would be in a much different society entirely. I know that it's wrong to wank to that gross material, but just because something is bad to do or wank to does not mean that it should be banned. Because it's bad, man, without them telling the difference between that and CSAM and or CR material they falsely tout as porn when it's not. Trivializing child rape in the process. Again, it should be up to the consumer to tell the difference between what they actually consume porn-wise or what they jerk off to and phase out the illicit CSAM and CR material, and hopefully other countries can do the same if we start doing the process first. But otherwise, Germany, I'm looking at you. That's why sexual education before puberty is not all.
Ah, you're looking at Germany. Not in the mirror. Aha. Ah.
Only unnecessary good to use as a counter to unnecessary evil, but it is paramount that people know the harm of not teaching kids sex ed before they become horny teenagers. So that not only are the predators out of business, but child sex trafficking rings are out of business as well. And maybe one of these years, one of these days, there would practically be zero of them, and you would never have to worry about a single predator ever the fuck again. But with all that being said, now let's recap what we have learned in Chapter 18. We have learned a lot about how to raise your kids without them becoming the monsters, predators, and even groomers we are vehemently against morally, without having to ban fictional CP, but actually going after CSAM and or CR material, meaning that the number of predators would decrease because pedophiles would get what they want to distribute for free, but not what the actual child sex traffickers want. And if it's only legalized to the extent where it's phased out, then by all means, I'm all for it just being phased out and monsters not having any benefits or anything to gain from it. We have learned about conception, how the pregnancy process can be summed up in a nutshell to a certain extent, not in every single facet or detail, and the entire cycle of childhood from birth when they no longer become children/minors. We've learned about how sexual education in this sense should work, how hygiene and diet are important, and the
Did we learn, or did you just talk at us?
truth about grooming as a whole. I've made clarifications about and even shown you a juicy clip of the first long-form commentary video, proving that not only am I not a pedophile, I drew a line between me being against consuming it, but
That clip did not establish that you were not a pedophile.
also being against banning it, without people having drawn the line between fictional porn and porn itself, of which is fiction, and the CSAM and or CR material that child sex traffickers, parents, the government, and even generic child predators and pedos falsely tout as porn abroad, and other things in between. So now, we're done with recapping everything. Let's get to the rant segment, shall we? Now, before I have to conclude this long-ass video in Chapter 20, I am going to go off on quite a bit of a rant. So, of all the desperate times this society has gone through, none would be anywhere near comparable to people who just inexplicably created and enabled the problem the moment someone has the balls to come out and actively fight against it like me, because people like them and you exist if you're part of the problem. It just makes me question.
So you fought against Batsuit too? But you were fighting the real good fight. Everybody else was just fake. Yeah, okay.
People more and more, judge them ever more efficiently, and quite frankly, they embolden me to make videos just like this and the first long-form commentary video for good measure. If you
They shouldn't. They should discourage you.
You really want me to stop making videos like this? Quit being the self-absorbed, egotistical, sociopathic, psychopathic, supercilious pieces of fucking shit that you enably parents are. Quit being the moral f***s that keep on plaguing yourselves in the comment section of videos like the first long-form commentary, coming up with absolute brick walls of comments. The arguments that are/were made against the first long-form commentary videos sound the same, and people should either stop haphazardly regurgitating
The arguments sound the same, so I'm going to ignore them because they're the same.
the samey old arguments that don't matter and rehash non-argumentative retorts and jabs, or just shut the fuck up. Some of you dolts and dunderheads keep lecturing me on how much I need to be stopped because I challenge the status quo that never earned the superiority it wields against people like me because, and by people like you. Just because I am not a parent yet doesn't mean that I may never become one. Just you fucking wait and see how thoroughly I will put all the words I've said, even in this video, as to advice, knowledge, and even common sense into practice. Just you wait and see. And
Please don't.
No?
Please don't.
No.
Nobody ever breathe with this man's.
No.
This thing.
No. Don't do that.
No one-
Stop that. Change that. Put it back in your pants. Put it on your chastity belt. Lock and key.
Please don't.
when they see future kids like what I
totally.
witnessed be born before my very eyes, practicing what I preach to them and actually curb stomping and crushing predators where they would have otherwise preyed on them easily without the parents doing fucking anything about it. All of you would
Curb stomping the predators.
definitely lose your shit. But trust me, it's only necessary to combat evil in the sanest and most non-abusive way whatsoever. It's not at all teaching kids that doing inappropriate things for their age is okay or even normal to do. Quite frankly, some people are either just too blissfully ignorant or downright schizo to get that it's the opposite without throwing up their tiki torches and pitchforks to crucify the 25-year-old fuck.
Where did you get that logic from? You didn't get that from a picture. Where did you get that European philosophy from?
I, for the last 3 months, have been falsely accused of and labeled a pedophile, despite me saying that anyone jacking off to fictional CP is wrong and degenerate, and me not having to clarify that I don't went to that shitty material anyway. I've had a whole bunch of some of these schizos in both sides of the societal schism when it comes to the topic of child predators call me a predator and a groomer myself, despite having not only zero evidence and or proof behind such claims, but also less than no truth behind these false claims to begin with, and it's just a part of this massive crusade they went on against me.
Sure.
I obviously draw the line to make myself more abundant.
What's that?
I said, sure, Jan.
And 110% clear, if 100% isn't enough, between me being against banning fictional CP and being against consuming the nasty material myself. It's not at all inconsistent or hypocritical. In fact, the opposite is true. Just like I don't do drugs because they fuck up your life, but I'm against banning it because I want to see the drug cartels go away forever and stop killing one another for the money and for the drugs that are so illicit, and yet people try to ban all drugs and it backfires on them spectacularly. So they all whine and cry about the fucking war on drugs, the problems they helped create, and they don't give a fuck. Alex Jones, you are a piece of shit. If you really were against the pedophiles in the government, why would you use the CSAM and or CR material that has been falsely touted as porn for almost 50 years against people you don't like, that are after your ass for a different reason that I may not mention? To be truthful, porn was never really an issue about morality and dignity and whether or not we can prevent all rapes from happening if these retards suggest that we ban it all permanently. No, it's mainly an issue of copyright. People who never made these pornos don't get to make money off of what isn't theirs to have copyrighted to begin with. The real reason why child predators exist is because of a deadly competition on how much money they make, rape, and kill for, and that they can somehow exploit children with CSAM and or CR material being falsely touted as CP or just porn in general. And people who justify the war on these preds and child sex trafficking rings also accept the indescribably hypocritical and evil
They accept.
so-called logic that not getting the difference between what's porn and what's not doesn't matter somehow, even if it means stopping child predators at the
They just accept that they don't know things, and they're gonna fish up the old one when they go fishing. And when they do that, they're gonna find the rare, shiny Gyarados that will be the mirror image to defeat this scenario you're in. This is so much theatrics, bro.
source of the issue, or child sex trafficking by putting them out of business and letting non-offending and even harmless porn addicts that somehow are also pedos and maps who don't even have child sex dolls at all get desensitized to the porn they consume, as opposed to the material that not even the most degenerate pedophile or map would jerk off to, only in order for them to stop, get help, and become a real functioning member of fucking society. If anything, it will scar them for life because their parents are failures by design when it comes to the lack of sexual education, because they put appropriation over prevention. They, as in the child sex traffickers and even modern day predators and groomers, only do what they do for either money or acceptance from the victim or community that they plague as a cancer, or even both. People blame the furry community or communities like anime and lollies because these vile people exploiting and stigmatizing the issue whilst exploiting children and actual minors exist, as opposed to people actually solving problems like that, so these people who are also predators and groomers don't exist. That is the world I would rather live in, but we don't, obviously. You don't get to just ignore the opportunity for your kids and even
No, I think we can. I think we can live in that universe as long as we don't take your advice.
teenagers to be taught sex ed and relationship advice only when they hit their teenage years at home and only that place alone, knowing the harms, dangers, and even the main reason why they exist, and then claim to feel sorry for the victim simply and conveniently because they couldn't control the environment surrounding them against their will that they got sexually violated in, and the environment that you as a parent fucking created. Capiche? You're not powerless if you're that kind of parent. You're not just fucking feckless, but you're monsters for letting this shit happen by design because you would rather not be disgusted by stuff that would have otherwise left kids alone, because that would have been their fucking main obsession to jerk off to. Going towards a path where child rape is stigmatized to the point where it's trivialized. And I, for one, am against that kind of society even existing. Put it this way. To recap chapter 19, I'm not a pedophile, I'm not a predator, I'm not a child sex offender, I never will be. Jerking off to CP is...
I don't believe you. I know you walking down Ho Town. I know you got some hoe in you.
it's wrong, but I'm also against banning it. Just like doing these drugs, even the illicit ones are wrong, but I'm against banning it in the sense where these illicit drugs need to be phased out and the drug cartels need to just stop existing, even in a third world country known as Mexico. And now let's move on to chapter 20 and finally conclude this fucking video, shall we? Well, that's all for this video, but before I sign out though, I've got a few final messages that I desperately want to air out before I go. Number one, groomers spread their ideas to their victims because parents intentionally left an unfillable empty void of opportunities to teach them sex ed before they hit puberty, which just further proves that parents are the main—
Well, what if they just snatched the kid? Do they provide an opportunity for them to get snatched then too, and it's their fault their kids gotten predilected on? Damn, where's the kids' agency in getting fucked? I joke and jest, but that's where we are now. The child has to be able to resist the rape. They have to know that the rape is coming and resist the rape because they have been taught better before the age of 5. Maybe you should have not played Kingdom Hearts because that sounds like some fucking broken ass logic. That's so stupid, Brian.
main problem that create groomers and predators like Joshua Keith Vita. Thank fucking God that I'm not amongst their numbers. Fuck predators. Number 2, making things like quote-unquote and saying it's that way for a reason is not a good argument whatsoever. It's not going to stop anyone from grooming and or making money off of the suffering from the victims, especially child prostitutes. And I am making a firm stance against groomers, given that I'm not one. Pretty fucking mind-blowing, I know. And sure, when you look back at the first long-form commentary video and say, well, that wasn't as bad of a video as when I first seen it, I know. It was just that people intentionally took me out of context, and I was pretty fucking irritated and annoyed with that. And they'll continue to do that to this day, and even after that. Number 3, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and what they do with law enforcement is just merely putting a band-aid on one of the many symptoms parents would have avoided creating and making a thing had they not been the problem, instead of actually solving the problem to begin with, which always boils down to bad parenting. And I just don't even give a fuck enough to rage while saying this, that this is the truth. Here you go. Parents are and have always been the problem that stands in the way between soon-to-be teenagers and them not being groomed or exploited for their bodies, sexually, against their will. That is the reason why, if I've cut too close to the bone to you, then I've done something absolutely right in this context.
No. No, you have not. No, you didn't.
All of this would have been so easily and perfectly avoided and avoidable entirely to begin with had it not been for the fucking parents to begin with. Plain and simple.
It's the parents' fault for following your advice. Okay. Yep, okay. Alright. Just, oh, fucking Christ almighty.
Simple, alright? And the next long-form commentary video will not be anywhere near as controversial as the first and fourth one, which is this one. I'll try to be a bit more careful on this platform when it comes to topics I cover, especially since my main channel's average like-dislike ratio, even though it's a useless and meaningless metric, may or may not dip below 50 because of that one video. But until the next one comes along in August, I am Brian Mullins the Fox, signing out. Goodbye to you all, and stay cool during the scorching summer, because God forbid I may need to as well. See you then. They should shout that. They should shout that.
Thank God it's over.
I feel dirty. I feel dirty.
I can tell you something funny that might make it better.
What is that?
There's gonna be a follow-up LOLcow live with Boogie on it.
Yeah.
In like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
That's gonna be fun.
I need to get dinner
Mr.
though, so I will I need to go offline to go take care of dinner, and then I will return for movie nights. But I will be listening to that shit.
We may want to grab Deck, and I think we're miscommunicating. We might want to do a quick call.
Oh, I see. I still need to get dinner prepared though, so give me a second. Lord have fucking mercy, this guy has drained my mental energy.
Yep.
You and me both.
Where?
Enjoy dinner. See you in a bit.
Okay. Before I sign off, where can I fucking how can I summarize? I can't even necessarily summarize, but how can I be able to even address and answer these problems? You want children to learn about sex ed before they hit double digits. You want kids to have their parents simulate or even perform the sexual act in front of them. And you want them to do these things to protect them from being predated on, when all they're going to end up doing is probably creating the very predator that will become the predation upon other people. And you do it in such a smug way that you insist, no, I'm not a parent, but I'm going to give you parental advice. It was more dangerous than I had predicted when I heard that would exist. But the flippancy of how you said it is the thing that causes me pain, Brian. I keep speaking to the screen as though he's going to respond. I cannot, for the life of me, understand why you do that. That is so fucking bad. That is so horrible. That is so cringe. That is so gay. That is so embarrassing. That is so fucking embarrassing. And I am shocked and appalled that you said this shit on a live channel, in a video, however you chose to publish this. I am shocked that you thought these thoughts, and you thought that these thoughts were going to be okay. Fucking help me understand how that makes sense. It doesn't, and you can't. Because what you just said is what you do if you want to make predators. Or if you want to make very easy, gullible children that you can predate upon. This shit would be great for fucking child snatchers. It's like telling them, yes, take candy from strangers. In fact, if they say get in the van, we have a bag full, just do it. No, man, they gotta take away one of these accounts. Like, you can't, no, you can't. Not possible. You can't. Not possible, bro. Like, past the migraine, past the headache, that is just annoying. Especially the parts where you say, I'm a virile creature. I didn't plan to have kids, but, you know, there might be a woman who might want my chiclet. Okay. I don't believe that. Anyways. We will return upon the morrow in 20 minutes. Somewhere. Potentially fried. Like catfish. With a little bit of chicanery. Because this shit was fucking goofy. And I definitely need a palate cleanser. Oh boy!